Ready.
Welcome to the March 19th, 2026 planning commission meeting. Starting at 6:02 p.m. Start with call to order and roll call. Steve? Okay, here.
Here.
Donna? Here.
I'm sorry, I'm not used to that.
Red?
You could try it in theory. Does that save you a hassle?
Yeah, want to?
Cat online?
I'm here.
And how about Chase? Can't say he's online.
No. Oh, so sorry. And that would be no.
Okay.
It's not. And they can unmute themselves. Anybody can, who is online, can unmute themselves at the appropriate time.
So we'll start with the public comment session, which is anyone from the public who wants to comment, but it has to be a comment that does not relate to anything that's listed on the agenda. Is there anyone that would like to make a comment? Anyone online?
I'm not saying no hands. No hands are raised.
Do they need to be told how to make?
They can actually unmute or it's star 6. You can push the button to raise your hand and I can unmute you as well. Okay,
Okay.
no public.
So no public comment. Okay, so we will now look at approving the minutes from February 19th.
And the minutes, please skip those minutes and let's continue them till the next meeting in April.
So then we'll go to the public hearings, and first on public hearings is the review and possible action by the planning commission regarding Deer Springs Phase 3 preliminary subdivision.
So, Madam Chair, just before we go there, I'm wondering if you would, there was some discussion with regard to the city, the town council is now starting meetings at 5, and there was some question as to, would you guys like to start at 5 p.m. or does that conflict with work schedules? But I thought maybe we should have that discussion now that we're early in the year. If you have that, you don't have to have discussion, you can say absolutely no, but if you wanted to do that, it's something that the council's kind of, it sounds like people work until too late, they prefer 6.
Like I said, we've had this discussion a couple meetings ago. At the end of the year, we talked about, I think it was, at least still people working. So just determine.
Well, it would just be, it'll be a lot easier for me to get
Okay.
here at 6 versus at 5. I mean, it's more, I still work till 8 on Thursdays, but 8:30, so, but I can get coverage better at 6 than.
Okay, so leave it alone.
Yeah.
Okay, good, I just wanted to confirm.
We
that.
all
Big
have to be
dinner
more
and-
convenient for
It's just
citizens to go
convenient for most of us.
Yeah.
6 instead of.
Okay,
Can
Fine, I
we
just
make
wanted to
it
make-
such that if we have a full agenda and it seems like it's gonna be a long meeting, that we have the opportunity to possibly switch it?
yeah, we can absolutely do that, so we can always, Maria and or I can reach out to you guys well in advance for public noticing, et cetera, and see if you could make it, if you guys can, we can push it early, is that right, Corbin? Yeah. Okay,
That's not it.
That's,
perfect.
wow, that's good.
Great.
Did you co-host? Did you get that?
I think I did, so I will share my screen because it's probably easier if I walk through these rather than drive over here crazy
You're fine.
with my bad navigation. There you guys see.
I will ask, I know, we went through this last month, so we need to start with what changes.
Yeah, so you guys are pretty familiar with this project. This is again Deer Springs Phase 3. This is the phase of the project that will bring in the parks and some of the community amenities. So I will scroll down here. There was, I addressed this up front. Hold it, do you see my screen? Do you guys see? my
That was
screen?
me. Sorry.
Yes, I can.
But you guys see the screen too as well, in case. Oh, it's on this one down here? Yeah, it's on.
It is. Sorry, yes.
Perfect. So There was a question with regard to parking. This was really the single biggest change to the plan, not to the subdivision, but to the civil plan set.
Interrupt a second, that is hard to see at this angle, can we turn that?
Sure. And then if you are in Zoom, if you'd like to get into Zoom, I'm happy to let you in. You might be able to see that a lot better if you're in Zoom on your own as well.
But it's always easier for me if I actually go in, even if I'm here in person, if I go into Zoom, but if you can see
That's
that,
hard. Can you make yours any bigger or make,
I can zoom in,
sorry.
I'll zoom in now. So this is the cul-de-sac. It's not.
March
really
19th
important
Planning
to
Commission.
See that because I'll go to that drawing in just a second, but the applicant did add 8 parking spaces up there on the kind of on the radius, the outer circumference, I should say, of the traffic, the cul-de-sac up there. So there is now some parking up there, which will be convenient for access to the dog park. That was really the single biggest change to the actual design. As they're familiar with the location, again, the dog park is this area up here. Which is kind of to the east part of the site. The pickleball courts and the pavilion are over on this kind of western portion of the site. And again, 248 is directly contiguous to the home. You guys are familiar with this. Okay, so in staff report, really the underlying portions of what I'll quickly walk through. So with regard to the retaining walls, these retaining walls are going to be taller than the 10-foot maximum allowance, but that is in accordance with the MDA that was approved prior to the zoning ordinance change. And so we will coordinate with the applicant to make sure that they match the kind of the natural stack rock and stained retaining walls that we use throughout town. But it is worth noting that this is specifically for the area directly adjacent to SR 248, the right of way. That's where you're going to see the tallest walls. They can be as tall as 20 feet, and we'll coordinate with them to again stain, keep natural colors, that kind of appearance, and a tiering approach. But they will be taller than the 6-foot single wall or the 10-foot tiered wall that we have in front right now. As part of the MDA, we discussed this a little bit the last meeting. There are some requirements that are to be incorporated in this phase. The applicant has confirmed that the pickleball courts will be built, the gazebo will be built, the gazebo, the pavilion, I should say, was resized to be a little bigger to match what the MDA required. That'll be reflected on the civil plan set. We'll coordinate with regard to some of the design details of the pavilion. The park plan that was included was not updated to include slightly bigger pavilions, but we will coordinate that down the road as we get into construction details. Again, it is worth noting that tonight it's just about second.
Yes, question about it's 24 by 36, right?
Will you speak up just a little? So sorry, just everybody online.
So the size of the pavilion is 24 by 36. 5 picnic tables that the drawing shows like 4, so I'm not sure what size is. But we get rid of the 2 barbecues and maybe have like a concrete area you can go ahead and put propane cookers as barbecues. I can't imagine somebody going and using the kits. And then where are we gonna dispose of them in the field, in the stream, in the garbage? You know, I just think that barbecues are out of date.
And it could be a fire hazard too.
Yeah, we can certainly do that. We are going to be, that is an inclusion that was part of an explicit inclusion that was part of the NDA. We are also going back to the council because the amphitheater has been pulled out and a kind of a beta and exercise course has been added. So we're going to request approval from council for that. So that changed to the NDA. We could do the same for this and coordinate with PT, PT, are you on?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm on. Thank you.
Okay, PT, did you hear that request?
Yeah, I'm listening for sure. I think that's something that can be addressed. Like you said, it's specifically mentioned, so it's something we'd have to change in council, right? But
It's at a council.
one or the other.
Logical, yeah, we can do that, okay. Again, the playground will probably coordinate this with council. In the MDA, there was an explicit manufacturer for the playground. We'll probably go back to them and work with a playground to ensure that the play equipment, it fits into the character of this particular neighborhood. It's got subtle colors, not bright colors, that kind of thing. So we'll make sure that we coordinate that with council as
With
well.
wings,
In
It does not have a swell, but it is on sale for $13,000.
I'm just looking it up myself.
Yeah. For the 3 kids in the entire town, that would be, this is gonna be.
No, there's a lot of great grants coming, a lot of grandkids.
We'll coordinate the details and make sure to work with council, but we'll have a little bit of leeway there, subject to council's approval to make that minor change in the NDA. I like that you guys paid attention.
They offer swings though too, by the way.
I know, do you hear? I'm
Yeah, there you go.
looking.
Last time that also mentioned, bike racks.
Swings are cheaper.
And
And
we can coordinate that with PT, agree to that, we can coordinate where those would be located on site, certainly. So yeah, all of the play equipment, et cetera, we will run through the council for the NDA to make those minor changes, but what you have seen is what you'll be getting. Lighting, we'll work with the applicant on the lighting. What was originally envisioned is not what has been approved and or built, so we'll make sure that is made in the NDA as well. For the earlier places, I should say.
Is the new light fixture dark sky compliant?
It is dark sky compliant. It's downward directed and does not have horizontal illumination.
Okay,
Yeah, and we'll confirm that if there's a minor change needed, we'll make that. So with regard to the town of Hideout entry signs on 248, both of those will be constructed before the end of the year, hopefully this summer, but definitely before the end of the year. That's part of the agreement. So that'll be coming in from Camas, coming in from Park City. We have to work a little bit with regard to the size, the scale, the final design of those, but we'll be finalizing that hopefully over the next 4 to 6 weeks.
is there a way you can show us on a map where they would be?
They'll be in the locations where they currently are. So coming in from Park City, do you know where that small one is, kind of
Yeah.
Deer Spring? It'll be in a
That's what's like on that one?
location. Yeah. Yeah.
Because
And
I
then
know-
probably from the north side, it might be, we have to finalize it, but it might be just before you get to Golden Eagle Road. Because that's approximately our northern boundary right now. Which side of the road it's on is yet to be determined. Which side of Golden Eagle Road it would be on, we're not exactly sure, the north or the south side, but right around there, because that's where I'm at.
So if we move, Shoreline Drive to line up with Deer Springs, that would be a different, we'd have a different sign there, that's totally not.
So the sign we're talking about is the entry sign on 248, so that would not be impacted by moving Shoreline to line up with Deer Mountain so that it's a T intersection. The sign you're talking about, though, is also a sign that Nate and or PT have agreed to coordinating together on this, but that kind of that city sign where we put our notices, et cetera, I think is the one you're talking about, maybe? The one on Shoreline, right?
Yeah, so.
Yeah, that one will, that could be impacted by the right of way move. So we'll be strategic in where we locate that and or ensure that the footings are attached to the sign itself so that it could be moved holistically if and when that road moves. Yeah, but you're right, that one would likely be impacted. Yeah. Well, there's some minor landscape planting materials that we will clean up on the landscape plan, but we will do that as part of final subdivision. Again, this is preliminary subdivision. With regard to speed radar signs, right now the town has a permanent speed radar sign down there and a temporary one there. So the request here that the applicant coordinate and maybe help with some of the expense associated with that is something that we'll coordinate with the Public Works Department, because we actually do have a permanent and a temporary one down there now, which is potentially enough. So we'll coordinate that with Dan Allen.
is there a way to get a commitment for permanent radar signs? It's just
Maybe
so
that-
dangerous over there.
Maybe to have two,
Two
like,
permanent.
permanent, yeah, we could, and we'll work with PT and, Dan Allen in our public works on that. With regard to the details, but I agree. Probably the issue of speeding along, Ascent Drive is not going to dissipate, so we should keep those signs there, make sure that they're, as permanent looking as. Good looking as they can be in our community, and
And
we
is
could
there
do-
any other speed mitigation efforts that can be made? Because
I-
that road is really dangerous.
I know that, in the past, they've discussed, certainly speed bumps and they've done temporary ramps around the community, but they haven't been that popular due to their noise, their appearance, things like that. And so I guess the best answer I would have is that we'll coordinate with Dan Allen. I know that permanent speed bumps are challenging when it comes to snow removal. And so beyond that, maybe it is really coordinating with maybe the police department to have a really, a solid month of them watching that. That may be a relatively easy fix. I'm not sure.
What about stop signs?
If we put a stop sign? Yeah,
Anywhere on Ascent?
well, it's interesting that as we look at this new phase 3, that would be a T intersection along Bellevue, which becomes Ascent up the road. There might be an opportunity to put a stop sign there. I could certainly coordinate that with, the town engineer to make sure that we have the necessary minimum linear feet between stop signs. We could look at that.
I would appreciate that, and I'm sure the residents would too.
Yeah, we can look at that.
The three-way.
Yeah, because this will create a three-way rough, not quite center, but getting pretty close to center between Shoreline and Jordanville Parkway, yeah. The applicant did update the trails map to clearly indicate where the phase 3 trails are. They are a logical extension of the existing trail network. Let's see. We touched on street lighting. The road widths will match the road widths that are already in Shoreline. Those are 26 feet, curb to curb. And then we'll just clean up. We have a little bit of cleanup on the actual plat itself on these signature blocks. So the final component of this is the concerns raised at the meeting, using Bermuda sod to reduce irrigation needs. I connected with PT today, and he is willing to do that, subject to us looking at the Bermuda grass and making sure that it will look there, that it serves the purpose. So we'll take a look at that as long as it meets the needs of the residents. The idea of saving water is, I think, amenable to everybody, PT included. Plat note will be included on the subdivision to note that the trails are open to the public. There were some concerns with regard to the quality of the existing landscaping. Again, I did connect with PT today. He reached out to the community. I think he had either a virtual meeting or a meeting with them. They addressed some of those concerns. Some of those issues are that this is native landscaping and or water-wise exotics that are being proposed for this subdivision, and those do take 1 to 3 years. We had the same issue in Shoreline up front. It looked really rough. It takes a couple of years to actually seed, to germinate, and to actually fill in. So I think that PT was able to explain that to the residents, that they have specific concerns with regard to additional landscaping. We're already proposing some supplemental landscaping to make sure, some of the corners, some of the streets look thorough, in terms of look robust in terms of their planting. So we'll coordinate with them. PT, did I capture that right? I don't want to speak for you, so did I capture that correctly?
Yeah, I think everything's, heading down what you're talking about there. I for sure feel like, and some of the stuff was just being, winter cleanup and things like that. And so we did meet in person. We brought our team up, and we're happy to be, continuing to keep due diligence to make sure that we're keeping things nice and pretty up there.
And PT, I think you might be able to speak to very quickly, there were some concerns with regard to construction debris, et cetera. Did you have that discussion with them as well, and or make a commitment to keep that in maybe better shape?
Yeah, I think that's an ongoing one. I think right now, we wrapped a lot of buildings up, so it's not as, but I think it's the concern moving on forward, who they can reach out to, and make sure that we're accommodating everybody's needs. So yeah, I think we've got a pretty good plan in place with the team we have, and we brought our vertical team out as well as our development team, and so we're coordinating those efforts.
And then I think the final issue was the issue of a request to maybe plow the trail between the major parking lot, which is kind of on the west side of phase 3, up to the dog park. I connected with PT today. He said it's something that he's trying to coordinate with the HOA because that would be an added expense for them right now. The HOA doesn't plow any of the trails. Most of the trails throughout the community really don't get plowed during the winter. And so I think PT would like to coordinate with them. That's not a guarantee that they will agree to pay additional fees to do that, but he did note that they did add parking up off of the cul-de-sac up in that area, so it should be. There should be better accessibility. Did I capture that right as well, PT?
Yeah, I think it's something we could work with Public Works and the town of Hideout and see if that's something we want to do. I mean, I don't know of any trails right now that are being cleared. I certainly understood why it got brought up, and it's something we could work through for sure. But I think there's quite a bit that needs to be discussed on it, and feel like the teams are in place to do so.
And those were all of the issues. I kind of ran through that quickly. If you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer, but it is worth noting that we had a public hearing at the last meeting and you heard from the public. I think we continue the public hearing / public meeting to this meeting. So the request tonight would be for a vote in favor for this preliminary subdivision. With conditions or against the subdivision, if that were your if you're ready for a vote. Corbin, we had it opened as a public hearing at the last meeting, in state statute. I think we could only have one public hearing. Yeah, this would not be open to the public pursuant to the new state statute, so it's just a public meeting, if you will, and a request for a vote. This park have a name? I'm sorry, this park have a name? Yeah. Does the park have a name, PT? Don't know.
No, I think honestly, Deer Springs Community Park or something along those lines. The HOA owns and maintains. I think we would keep it along those lines. Certainly open to, ideas, and we could also present that to the ownership as well.
I think they should get to name it.
I think that's a great idea.
PT, is there any way to get, I know you hydro seed. Is there any way to get a hydro seed blend that doesn't have tiger tail in it for all of our dogs? Because it's so dangerous.
I'm not the greatest knowledge of that, but I certainly am going to write it down and find out if we can.
It's a really dangerous issue that we have all over with our dogs. So I know, especially with the dog park right there, if we could get something that doesn't include that, it would be very appreciated by dog owners.
Yeah, I'm noting it now. And I mean, obviously, if there's something out there and stays in the Wasatch, because we got to conform to Hideout and Wasatch County. But at the same time, yes, if there's something that's out there, we can look at it.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Is anybody ready to make a motion?
Make a motion.
I'm gonna say, if you do make a motion, if you guys are ready, if you would make a motion subject to the conditions in the staff report, and engineering. Unfortunately, Dennis wasn't able to be here tonight, but he had a few comments as well, but if you would just, if you do make it, it's perhaps subject to, planning and engineering conditions.
I'll make a motion. That we approve. That we approve the
Engineering subject.
the preliminary subdivision with conditions to the approval of our town engineer,
Planner and challenge.
town engineer and planner.
Second.
Okay, all right, take a vote. JD,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
Don,
Yes,
Steve,
Yes.
and Pat,
Yes.
and it's yes for me, so unanimous.
Thanks, PT.
Yeah, thank you all for your time and appreciate you taking the time and I think leaps and bounds. You guys are you may be new, but it sounds like everybody's really knowledgeable. So appreciate you guys.
Thanks for making the changes that we asked for. Okay, we'll move on. So, review and possible action by the planning commission regarding the Hideout Fire Station conditional use application. We have two different items. Can we do those together or?
I think we have to do them independent. One is for a conditional use permit. You guys will vote on that. You are the last stop for a conditional use permit. And then the second one is a preliminary subdivision, which will be similar to what you just heard at Deer Springs. You will vote on that. You'll open that up to the public. You'll make a vote subject to being ready tonight. And then that will be final review by the planning commission, and then again, subject to new state statute, it goes into final subdivision review internally. It's almost administrative at that point. So I think I keep them separate.
Okay.
So are you ready for this one?
Yep.
Okay, so as you are all well aware, the fire station has leased a portion of the town-owned property on SR 248. And so they are coming in for a conditional use permit to locate that fire station on that particular site. At last week's town council meeting, you all had recommended back in January or February a favorable recommendation to zone it to neighborhood mixed use. You remember, that was adopted by the council last week, and so property is now NMU, neighborhood mixed use. A fire station is not a permitted use in the NMU, it's a conditional use within the NMU. So we have to go through this conditional use review and an approval by you all. So, again, 3.35 acres, the fire station's taking about half of that 1.6. The other 1.6 may down the road be used for public works relocation, etc. So the NMU, you can see this is the location. You're pretty well aware where this is. It's actually just a little bit to the northwest of Bill Wolf's property. So as part of our code, we have some general conditions of approval and then some specifics. I don't think I'm going to go through all of them. What's important tells me I have to use it. They're all listed in here, and I have given a response to all of them. But the upfront 4 conditions, just note that general conditions must be met for this project. The location is in harmony with the intent of the general plan. The proposed project is necessary as a service facility. It will not hinder, it will not negatively impact health, safety, public welfare, and that if reasonable conditions are needed, detailed conditions are needed by the planning commission, those will be incorporated. I think this project, without a doubt, meets health, safety, welfare. In fact, it is health, safety, welfare. It is a fire station, right? And so I think that its location along SR 248 does not in any way detract from the intent of the general plan. The general plan preserves views, etc. But this particular location will not hinder views. It's an ideal location for a fire station. It's got easy accessibility, minimized disturbance to neighborhoods, etc. So I think it meets the general conditions. Then what you see after are a series of conditions that are incorporated in our code. The first group being under number 1 there really addresses conditions relative to site, zoning, and kind of neighborhood context, just to ensure that the project does not negatively impact traffic. This will not negatively impact traffic. It's on 248. Physical design fits into the neighborhood character. There's not a lot of neighborhood character there. The only really building right now close by is built. Not that his character doesn't count, but there's not a lot that's developed in that particular area. I'll show you the proposed renderings and designs so you do get an understanding of what the layout is and the architectural design for this area. Generally kind of a Mount Modern design shed roofs, not unlike what you see in some of the buildings in Golden Eagle and Soaring Hawk, which are probably the 2 closest neighborhoods. If you get to number 5, we do have some conditions that we do want to make sure are addressed. no outdoor storage, making sure that the transformer, the generator, some of the mechanical equipment that are located just adjacent to the parking lot, they're put behind that retaining wall so that they're screened to the best extent they can. They're not on display for SR 248 traffic. Crash enclosure will also be fully masonry closed off and not open to the SR 248. Number 6 deals with landscaping. We've got some detailed recommendations for the landscape plan that we'd like to go through. That's just not finalized. That could be a little bit down the road, so we'll address that as needed. Locations, limitations on certain items to be located in the front yard. There will be nothing located in the front yard. Will simply be the entryway, the parking lot, and then the retaining wall that kind of steps up that slope. So should meet those conditions. Get to safety, all of the proposed parking, the right of way, the drive aisle do meet all of our minimum standards pursuant to the code. It's also worth noting that the fire department wants all of those minimums to be met as well. They are the ones with the larger vehicles, so those conditions should be met, though they will be met. No freestanding signage is proposed. It gets into, there was a discussion with regard to the need for a traffic study. If you wanted a traffic study, you could require it as part of the conditional use, but our recommendation is that you don't need it, given that it's only.
Hey, Thomas, can you speak up or sit closer
Sure.
to the microphone? People on Zoom are having a hard time hearing you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Want to bring the table over? Why don't we bring the table over?
Well, we could do that. as long as-
Sure, that's a wonderful already. Thank you so much. Ah, there you go. So great, thank you so much. That was nice.
Kat, is it better if I am speaking now?
It's much better. Thank
Oh,
you.
nice, okay.
That better too.
See, now I'm on display in front, that's okay. Let's see, health and sanitation, really no issues there. I was talking about a traffic impact study. Our recommendation is that you don't need one. It's only for a single use, and it's on SR 248, probably the busiest road in the community.
When a fire engine would be leaving, will you have some sort of lights to yellow blinking light or
They
something?
will, those will be put up so that it is so that they give warning to those to those cars on SR 248, so they know to slow down so that the vehicles can get in and out.
How many feet from like the entrance will that be?
Ide, are you available? Can you hear that? Ide is fine.
I can hear you.
Yes,
Or-
I am, but this is question for Lincoln. I believe
Okay.
he's on call as well.
And he is where?
I'm here.
He's
Oh, hi.
Yeah.
Hi, Lee.
Yeah. Yeah, so actually, so we will have emergency, kind of like a flash beacon. So basically, when fire engine is actually entering SR 248, so we'll have two sets of that. One is actually the flash beacon, and also we have advanced warning. And the distance we used is actually meeting the MUTCD standard and also UDOT standard. And I can't remember on top of my head what the distance is, but yeah, so I think it's about 100 feet in between the flashing beacon and also advanced warning sign, but I can double check that.
Thank you. Okay, yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, I think that's about right. I don't know the exact beat, but you know, when you're coming in from Park City on 248, when you hit the warning light before you get to the Black Rock Hotel, you know, just to let you know, we may have to stop you. I suspect it's simple.
Thank you.
There really are no environmental concerns that need to be mitigated. Other than that, the slope The building will be built into the slope. The slope will kind of hit the backside of the building. We'll coordinate with them with regard to the landscaping, any screening, soil stabilization to ensure that all of that is, of course, protected and revegetated accordingly. I was talking with Bill a little bit earlier tonight, and he asked about potential fencing. Do we need some fencing up there just due to the fact that wildlife come down
Right.
that corridor quite frequently? And so, Bill, you can, when we open it up to the public, certainly feel free to speak, but it may be something that we may want to put a condition that if there is a fencing or some kind of screening to prevent wildlife from running through this area and or, dare I say, onto the roof of the fire station, we might want to incorporate some sort of architectural element that addresses that. And so, though that is a very quick review of the conditions, I am hoping Corbin is okay with that. All of the conditions were outlined in detail. I went through them rather quickly verbally.
That's fine.
But if you have any questions for me, or if you have any other thoughts or concerns or conditions that you think are important for this particular project, certainly let me know and I will incorporate.
With the fire station that's projected, will carry enough equipment to cover all the needs of hideout?
Yes, that is according to the Wasatch Fire Department. They have conveyed that what is being proposed there in terms of emergency management service vehicles, paramedic vehicles, and fire trucks will meet the needs of hideout. I can't speak to the specifics. I'm not sure if the chief is on. He had a meeting at 6 o'clock, but was going to jump on right after. But that is what has been conveyed from day one as part of the proposed Fire Department 56. And that was also conveyed to council when they proposed the lease for the property.
Will there be enough equipment to handle early wildfires?
Gosh, chief, are you by chance on?
What is his name?
Eric Hales.
No.
No?
Okay.
Okay, I can see if the chief comes on shortly, we can address that. But we have been told that this is the right size fire station for the needs in this community at this point. I'm conveying that anecdotally from what I've heard from the chief. JD might know from council when we were kind of talking through this, but am I conveying that correctly?
No, that's my impression, yeah, that it's right size for what the town is anticipated to be in this needs, yes.
So it should be. Yeah. Just so you guys have an understanding of what is being proposed, I think you guys may have seen it before, it's it looks like it's a pretty nicely designed building, kind of modern architecture. It's got a good look to it. You can kind of see that top right photo. You can start to see where the shed roof kind of does dissipate into the slope, so you can kind of get a sense of how it will be built in. They'll probably have to export a fair amount of soil from this site, but it is it looks like it fits in pretty well.
Draft is not really gonna look like that.
It's a fire hazard.
It'll be, are you suggesting it'll be browner?
It'll be- Probably be dirt.
One of the things you brought up, Thomas, was the location of the dumpster and how close it was to the property line, the dividing line.
It actually will be a property line because this will be a designated lot. That dumpster is right up to the line. It's not over the line. That's a little bit of a cloud image there, but it is pretty close to the line. One of the things when we get into the subdivision, we'll talk a little bit about setbacks with the building itself, but that is on the property. I mean,
Look, do you want to tilt it more straighter? That's horrible English. And And I don't know, pave the rest of it to the property line. Since it's something that will more than likely be the driveway into the maintenance facility for Hideout.
So are you suggesting reconfigure it almost so that the doors face 248 a
Yeah,
little?
I know that I can see the slope. And it kind of follows the slope going into the hillside is the way the elevation lines are, but if you want to make that 45 more of a 30-degree or
Do you
something.
think they did that on purpose to go into this?
Yeah,
I'm gonna, go ahead.
sorry, this is Heber with AJC Architects. The angle is in coordination with service to this location, so they can do a forward pull in and pick up in case they need to pick it up with equipment, so that the vehicle has room to navigate at the 45-degree angle. If we turn it more, it'll have to be rolled out and pulled out for pickup separately.
That makes sense because the vehicle to get in has to be able to grab,
But yes, we would have preferred it to be just tucked in, but that's a operational requirement, it appears.
we can work with them to make sure that, it is again screened as best as possible. When the public works facility goes in, there might be an opportunity to reconfigure it a little bit, then, because you'll have more pavement. Yeah. You'll have more maneuverability. Because that road would go this direction for the public works facility over here.
Does you don't have any concerns about it still being 65 miles an hour / 80 coming down that hill? I mean, obviously, they're going to lower the speed limit up by Tuahey and Golden Eagle with the new light. Would this be a time, or when this is built, would this be a time to drop that section down to 55 too? Which is probably maybe in conjunction when the Ross Creek Deer Mountain intersection gets lined up to change it all to 55.
Well, that's interesting. Heber, you may be able to speak a little bit more to this because you spoke with UDOT most recently. Did they speak to you at all about potential reductions in speed limits? They have thus far, just so you are aware, and I think we had a little bit of this discussion at the transportation here at the retreat, I think, right? But Jeff Dupay was there, and really at present, they don't have any immediate plans to reduce the speed limit. When a light goes in, certainly that may change things, but right now I don't think that they do. Heber, have you heard any differently when you discussed?
No, I've not heard any differently. This impact here has been studied with deceleration or auxiliary lanes to service the station, but as far as slowing the entire highway section down, no. We've met with UDOT about 4 or 5 times. Lincoln Lee is our UDOT process specialist. Lincoln, in your discussions with Nazi and District 2, have you heard anything different? Because I know you've continued to meet with them.
Actually, no. So, I mean, I don't think UDOT has any plan to reduce the speed on SR 248. And also SR 248 is actually a limited access state highway, which means if we want to get the access, we need to go through an additional process to get a limited access break, which is a process right now we're working with UDOT right now. So, I mean, I think in the state, there are only 3 or 4 highways are designated as limited access state highway. So, yeah, so with that being said, I mean, I don't think UDOT will slow down SR 248 speed limit. And also in my most recent discussion with Nazi, she is a permit engineer with UDOT, and she had mentioned the director's vision for SR 248 is most likely the Bangerter Highway in Salt Lake. So yeah, so that's the reason. I mean, we're not seeing in the near future UDOT will lower the speed limit on SR 248. By the way, so as far as the signal, actually, that is not a signal, that is a flashing beacon. Is similar to like you push the button and then you push a button in like a urban street, and then you're crossing when pedestrian is crossing, and then that flash beacon will turn red temporarily. So it's not a full signal over there, and we cannot be granted for full signal because the impact to the SR 248 traffic is so minimal that actually right now that is one thing we're working with UDOT. UDOT prefers that we put the decel lanes and acceleration lanes on SR 248, but the trip generation from this fire station does not warrant that. We are actually not in that threshold to have the full aux lane being built over there.
That's basically what we've heard. It's not at that point yet where they would warrant reducing it.
So the flashing lights would be flashing amber, not flashing red.
Lincoln, is that right? The lights would flash amber, not red.
So basically, the light will flashing red. So actually that is, so actually can I steal the screen for a second? I can show you what that will look like.
Okay.
Yeah, just give me 1 second. Let me get that location.
I heard back from the fire chief as well.
He's on.
Good.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah, let me see if this is a good example I can show you. Let me share my screen very quick. So basically it's a, can you all see my screen?
It's coming up,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so basically the flashing beacon is something similar to this. It's stop on red and stop on flashing red and proceed if clean. Yeah, but we do have advanced warning sign as well. So I just verified actually it's about 500 feet on each side.
In 224.
Is that for pedestrian? I think it's for pedestrian
That's a
crossing.
pedestrian.
Yeah, but it
But
has
you're right.
3 lights and it
Yeah.
flashes.
So
That's right.
yeah, so basically in MUTCD, Utah MUTCD, so this flashing beacon can be used for pedestrian crossing and also can be used for vehicles as well. And I think this is probably we actually had a conversation with UDOT traffic engineer as well, and we think this is the best application in this case.
Great. I think the fire chief jumped on. Chief, were you here?
Yes, can you hear me?
We can. Thanks for
Okay,
jumping
great.
on. Chief, there was
Sorry,
a-
I'm not there in person.
Oh, you're good. Chief, there was a question by one of the planning commissioners, just wanting to make sure that the proposed equipment in the fire station, the personnel, everything was generally satisfactory in terms of current and anticipated future needs for basic, fires, house calls, as well as wildfire protection. And I thought I tried to answer, but I think I failed, so I'm leaving it to you.
Well, yeah, so basically just the configuration of the apparatus will be a type 1/type 3 fire apparatus, a pumper truck that is compatible for both structure fire and wildland fire. It's the typical truck we use for our stations located in the wildland urban interface. And then we'll also have an ambulance there. Our initial staffing, just because of call volume, is that we'll be able to we'll be cross-staffed. Our minimum staffing will be 3 personnel at that station is what the staffing level will be. And then they'll either respond in the truck or the ambulance, depending on the call volume or the type of call and just our resource allocation. They may sometimes come to a medical call to your home in a fire truck, and we'll have another ambulance come from the Jordanelle area, just depending on our configuration. But they will be able to provide both fire suppression and medical response.
Thanks, Chief.
Any other questions about that? Or anything else?
I don't see any questions. We're good, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, you bet.
Lincoln, are you still on?
Yes, I am.
Do you guys, and maybe Chief, maybe it's a question for you, I'm not sure. Do you know what the timeline is for the deceleration and acceleration lanes that you guys are coordinating with UDOT?
What we've been told in meetings Lincoln and I've been in, and we're trying to get clarification on this. We've heard that it has to be installed in the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
And we just have to commit to that. We're obviously looking for funding for that because it is expensive to build, a 1/3 mile plus of UDOT spec road. But obviously Lincoln knows more about engineering than I do. But it is something we, obviously will commit to. We're just trying to finalize the language that UDOT and they're requiring from us, but it will not hold up our project, as I believe I've heard previously.
That is correct, Chief. So basically right now, in my most recent conversation with UDOT, is that UDOT, UDOT would be okay if we install the fire station right now, doing the construction right now. But what they want to see in the future is that in the next few years that we have the commitment that we'll build the aux lane, the decel lane, and acceleration lane over there. So part of the reason is that we brought up the fact that building a state spec highway is super expensive, especially over there. And also because of the mountain side over there, the heavy slope with the erosion issues and stormwater drainage issues over there. So that's the reason if we want to build the aux lane right now, so that is extremely expensive. And we understand we have budget limitation over there, and that's why UDOT can temporarily grant us the conditional access permit for this project. But still, because like I mentioned, so with UDOT permit, so there are 2 types of permits. One is conditional access permit, which we're seeking for right now. And also because state highway SR 248 is a limited access state highway. So we will need to break that. So we call that limited access break. So that is a different process, which we're also going on right now.
Okay, thanks, that helps.
Hey, Thomas, if we eventually want to move the public works there also, is there anything else that we need to consider in regard to this? Without all the work together?
They have included, I'll touch on it in the subdivision application right after this one, but this, they are granting an easement along here and here so that we could get to our building here. So that has been incorporated into the subdivision. So they've worked quite well with us to make sure that the 2 line up easily. They've got enough width in this area so that if there were a truck or a car in the way, the fire engine could still get out, right? But obviously we want to keep this area clear, get our trucks into this area over here. They've coordinated, and you can see that essentially right here is where they essentially teed off their road so that we can just carry it. It's the right width to get our vehicles in. So it should be, we should be in fine shape the way it is.
So Wasatch County would maintain that road and we would be. The
Yeah,
town
this will be
Yeah.
maintained by this is maintained by the fire department.
fire department
Yes.
itself.
Yeah.
Okay. But then if we we built. Our maintenance would then handle. it.
We'd be responsible for our maintenance for the road as it goes parallel along 248 into our building if we did locate there, yeah.
This is considered public hearing?
It is, yes.
Ready to. Is there anyone in the public that would like to ask a question? Podium and please state your name and.
Oops, sorry. That's my fault.
My name is Bill Wolf, live in South Great Wolf, and the neighbor to the fire station. And I have two comments. One, I came to address, and one that a new prompt for me to address. I'll start with that one first. And that was with the comment about what I understood, 248 is a limited access highway, 104, and it's similar to Bangor as a limited access. To me, that's just astonishing. When I first moved here, there were only me and Steve Garvey that accessed 248 and one other house around the corner, so it was very limited. But we're growing so fast with so many people and so many entryways, and how UDOT can consider this a limited access similar to Bangor. It's just craziness. And UDOT's decisions for such as acceleration, deceleration lanes, coming out of the main Hideout Canyon, previous hideout entrance, no acceleration lanes going into Park City, which is insanity. And the, I just think UDOT is like totally disconnected from what's going on out there. And if it's a technical thing that has to change status from limited access to something else to help control speed or use a little more wisdom and then, you know, towards acceleration, decelerations, someone needs to focus on that. So I don't know who needs to, but I agree completely with Mr. Aaron about, you know, this speed is craziness. And the fact that they aren't even contemplating that, to me, is craziness. Anyway,
That's
having
very
said that,
I have to agree.
yeah. So, but what I came for, I don't know if you could pull up that site plan that shows the orange triangle, a couple pages around there somewhere. And it shows the fire, yeah, that one right there.
Okay,
Not really an orange triangle, but so the triangle where the fire station is. So about 10 years ago, my wife and I heard this big crash, right? We go outside, look around, you know, couldn't really see anything. And then we started hearing some siren, we started seeing people. And what happened, the car was driving up towards Camas. And right where the fire station is going, the car coming up swerved and missed a deer and ran into another car coming down, came, flipped, and died.
Wow.
And there's a lot of deer that get hit there, but this was a real tragic one. So my discussion or thoughts earlier were that is a contemplated or designed or planned? Because now if you open that up to big fire station access, because there's that highway road or fence built on there, it's not much, but it's enough. That if they could continue it on both sides of that triangle, so to speak, to make a contiguous of the fence. So if they carve that triangle out for public utility and for the fire station, that there's still some buffer to keep animals from swarming on the highway. I mean, there's always access points where we have drives and stuff, but that seems like it could be a large access area. And that swale, you know, is a path because it goes all the way up and spreads. You know, it's no houses, so a lot of deer down there. And so anyway, I just thought if you guys can consider that as part of your design to keep that kind of closed off. So that was my comments.
Bill, just so I'm clear, so you're thinking that there may be a need for some fencing on the back side?
I would just say where it comes in now, wherever you open it up.
You want to point on there?
Yeah, sure. So. Right now you have fencing. Sorry.
No, you go ahead.
You're okay.
You have fencing coming along here, right? Now, if they remove all that. You know, and have this huge break or whatever. To just have it come like this, So it still protects anyone. You know, so it just as a.
Almost wrap the property rather than, because
Yeah,
we're taking
yeah.
away what's in.
Because
front.
you don't know, I don't know how
Okay,
much they're
okay.
taking away. I assume they're taking away quite a bit of it between the two proposals. So, and it,
At least the width of the driveway to the fire station.
Right.
Yeah,
It's a lot bigger
that's-
than the gate there is right now.
Yeah, and that gate, I've had to close it many times.
Yeah.
You can put a sign on there, please keep those closed, protect
Yeah.
animals, you know, I don't know if anyone's ever seen that, but it's, so.
Hmm.
It's just something I think would be beneficial. Anyway,
Yeah,
That makes
if
sense.
we could.
Good idea.
thank you.
Very well. Any comments from fire? People online? Are they aware of? Are you talking?
Chief, or maybe it's a question for Heber. Were you able to hear that okay?
Yeah, I could not see where it was, but obviously there's a fencing issue. We're taking down a game fence, obviously to gain access.
That's right.
I'm
It's kind of
sure-
one that goes along maybe the front of the property and maybe I think the request is that maybe that gets relocated to maybe the kind of the rear of the property to keep the integrity of that, or the intent of that fence alive, so that it does prevent the deer from accessing there easily.
I also want to make a comment. I don't know the details, maybe Thomas does, but I know that we've had wildlife studies have said that 248 seems to be one of the highest traffic accidents with wildlife and roads in the state, which seems kind of amazing to us, but considering that, it's definitely something to be taken serious.
Chief, we can coordinate that with you if you're agreeable.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't see any issue with that.
I think the bigger question is it possible to expand the conversation with UDOT on this? That they seem completely, I'm surprised that a traffic institution would be kind of not particularly amenable to slowing down things and stuff like that. It seems strange to me.
I know that we've had discussions with UDOT in the past, and how do I say this? You know, UDOT is busy all over the state, right? And so I don't know that this has risen to an elevation, a prioritized point for them to address, a prioritized elevation for them to address. I do know that Jeff Dupay is our rep, a really good guy, and who has started paying more and more attention to us. I know that the mayor's been in contact with him pretty recently, so I think that we need to further those conversations. I think we're establishing a good relationship with them and letting them know some of the serious issues that are
Yeah.
associated with the development that's moving along.
Well,
Both
Bill,
sides.
what Bill pointed out, I think that, you know, those kind of things, and it's inherently a dangerous place anyway, so. I think it's something that. This stretch of highway causes a lot of aggro for people and, you know, it would be a good idea to probably remove that if we could.
Yeah, I think that we can certainly continue our discussions with them. We've established, as I said, a much better relationship than we had even a year ago. And so I think that we can continue to push that,
I
but
don't hold this-
yeah,
We don't wanna hold this up.
Yes.
Yeah. no. Of course not, but I think that just working with them, you're right. From a holistic perspective,
Yeah.
maybe it is something where we maybe open up our corridor agreement with them to see if there are some changes we could make relative to lights, speed limits, things like that. But yeah, I think we can keep that conversation going. Yeah.
Any other questions? Anything else from the public? Okay. Would you like to make a motion?
If you do make a motion to approve the conditional use permit, I would just ask that you approve it subject to the town planner conditions in the report, the town engineer conditions as they review, and then the conditions that were discussed this evening.
Someone else like to make a motion? I'll make.
I'll make a motion.
All the motion.
I'll make a motion that, the planning commission, approves the conditional use application for the Hideout Fire Station on 248, subject to the, well, I'd say staff report. Approval or,
Town engineer.
town engineer
Review and approval of conditions and conditions you all.
and the conditions we talked about tonight.
Second,
We'll vote. JD,
yes.
Brad,
Yes.
Donna,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
and Pat. Pat, are you online?
Yes, she's online.
He's muted though.
She's sleeping.
Couldn't find the mute button. Yes.
Is that a yes?
Yeah.
And I'm a yes, okay, so that's unanimous. Okay, so we'll move on to
Rachel,
the,
can I just ask you a question? So what are next steps from here with respect to this particular initiative? What happens from here?
Say that one more time, I didn't hear.
What happens from here? Like, what conversation do we expect to ensue? And then what would happen in terms of expected outcomes? You know, what are we hoping?
Relative to the fire station or you got?
Maybe both, you know?
So I'd say relative to the fire station, so next steps will be right now, we're getting ready to hear the preliminary subdivision. That'll move to final subdivision. They are going to be pulling their building permits very quickly. They want to have this building in by fall of this year, right?
Right.
So that's the fire station. So we'll work very quickly with them to address any outstanding conditions, the details, et cetera. So that's the fire station. UDOT, they have, as they noted, a few years or 3 to 5 years to work out the acceleration and deceleration lane. So they'll be in coordination with UDOT as an individual property owner. So that's something that they will coordinate. We will, of course, be there with them to assist in any way we can regarding that. But if we're speaking about UDOT holistically and SR 248 holistically, I don't really know the best answer other than to say that the mayor and others in the town have really established a relationship with Jeff Dupay in particular, but UDOT as well, right? And some of those folks, and they have been great to work with. They're a big organization and they're incredibly busy. So I say that if we wanted to expedite or make greater changes, whether it's speed limits, lights, or other kinds of things, I really think it is maybe, maybe it's getting Wasatch County to walk in with us as Hideout, maybe Camas to walk in with us. as
I
Hideout.
think people need to,
Looking at it from a larger scale.
understand the seriousness. That is a very dangerous
It is.
piece of highway, and getting in and out. My neighbor got T-boned, there's real things happening there. So I think just kind of identifying, or getting people aware of like this is an important issue, because I think it's pretty dangerous place, getting in and out of there. And until we have lights, which, is sometime off, I don't know. I think I don't want to be like, attending, some kind of, funeral that's unnecessary. I don't think anyone wants to do that. So.
But remember, it was built at 55, back in 93.
Which
That
is
was
part of the conversation, I
Yeah.
think, Brad, it's like, what is the big deal going from 65 to 55? It seems like it is, but I don't know that it should be.
we need to be having the conversation with UDOT itself, and I know there was an article, I think like yesterday in KPCW, about, about the lights and about moving the road. I know, to put a light down at Ross Creek, one of the issues is moving the road.
Yeah.
Which we actually need to fund through the town, so that means we need to raise money, which means it's gonna take forever to happen.
Yeah, I get that.
But
That's the reality.
we need
That's true.
Prioritize and figure out how to make all that work, but I think it's, at least we're having some discussions.
We are having the discussion.
With UDOT.
You know, and
Yeah.
it also never hurts when you're working with an organization as big as UDOT to have a discussion with your state representative, right, for this district, and or even your state senator, right? I mean, it is a big deal. UDOT is big, and this is a regional issue, right?
Yeah,
This
yeah,
is an
of course.
11-mile stretch of road
Yeah.
from Park City to campus, right? And so I think involving all of the players and, you know, dare I say, taking up the political ladder is probably a way to draw attention to.
Yeah, I mean, you know, things are only growing this way and towards campuses, so I mean, it's going to be an issue.
Could I just ask, does this? We talk about traffic lights and turning lanes and things like that. Does this whole stretch of road need to be re-engineered completely?
That's a fair question.
I would not know the answer to that question. I suspect that that would be a question if we could get a meeting with UDOT to ask them. Do you think this needs to be re-engineered based on the changes that have taken place around here and the usage, the AADT, the average annual daily traffic increases, does that warrant a change? They would probably have an answer for that.
Can we get access to data of how many accidents there have been on the road in the last 5 years?
I'm sure we could. So we're getting off topic.
Oh,
on this.
sorry.
What I wanna ask though is, can we schedule a future meeting? And get UDOT to come and discuss all this as well?
That's Jeff would. He's a great guy to work with, and so I think the answer would be, yeah, we'll try for that. Yeah. Yeah.
So why don't we move on to the number 3, preliminary subdivision?
All right, so this is a preliminary subdivision for the fire station. So now that it's got a conditional use permit that was approved by you all, we can move into the actual layout of the lot. So again, this is the 3.5 acres that the town owns. We're leasing approximately half to them. If we're going to put 2 principal buildings on this property, we have to have it subdivided so that each has their own lot. So this is simply about drawing a lot line down the middle. They're creating a little triangle, as you guys saw within that area. Let's see.
Was there any rhyme and reason to the design of these 2 lots? John Thomas, or like, was there a purpose behind this, or they just kind of like this?
I think this is really just, this is the amount of space they needed, so they
Gotcha.
used the amount of space they needed, they kept it to a minimum. And they drew the line, and you kind of see right here, this corner of the triangle.
Thank you.
This would be our portion down here. So, let me go up here. So this is neighborhood mixed use, and so the requirements for neighborhood mixed use are a 50-foot front setback, a 30-foot rear setback, and 30-foot side yard setbacks. One of the things we'll want to do, I connected with today, one of their engineers. It looks like they may have only a 20-foot setback on, go up there. Sorry, I'm making you guys busy, sorry. I'm going to the site plan now, but this area right here, if you can see my cursor, is only 20 feet and needs to be 30 feet. So we may need to, in an effort to avoid a strange condition or the need for a variance, what we will likely need to do is, we can still approve this preliminary subdivision tonight, but we may need to move this line 10 feet this direction so that everything can shift to meet the 30 feet. Because otherwise it would be hard to warrant a variance given this is new development. So we did discuss that with their engineers today. And I think that Corbin generally agrees with that as the approach, yeah, because I don't think we can incorporate a condition that allows for a reduction. So we'd have to come back for a variance. That would take a fair amount of time to do that. And so, and also it goes to an administrative law judge. There's a lot associated with that. So we'll probably have to move this over a little bit, just to ensure that we meet the setbacks.
And is that? Why not here garbage?
Well, everything would move this way, 10 feet.
That's what I'm saying, so now you've moved that onto the, past the dividing line.
Well, no, the new line, the
Oh, you're
line,
saying you would move the line.
the whole line will, everything you see here will shift so that we meet the setback.
Oh, I heard the lawn itself.
Yeah, the whole, everything will
Got it.
shift. It's a little
That's
bit
gonna make it
unfortunate,
work.
but we do need to meet that setback. There's really no way around it, short of a variance, and that's a very uphill battle to obtain a variance. I've got. No. Okay, I've got just a few notes here, so we'll work with them to ensure that we do maintain those setbacks. It may move a little bit. We already discussed the trash enclosure. We do need some retaining wall measurements on the first retaining wall that is supporting the, that holds back the slope right adjacent to the parking lot. We'll work with,
That multi-level.
it is multi-level. Actually, Keeper, I think you're off mute. Do you know roughly how high those I think they're roughly 6 feet, right?
Yeah, there's multiple of them that stagger back. The building itself holds 20 feet, but then above that, I believe we have 1 or 2 6-foot boulder walls.
Eber, so
Yeah.
the average is 5 feet plus minus. We
Okay,
don't have anything over 6 feet.
thanks for confirming, Ide.
So there's 2 walls that are about 5 feet. Is that what you said?
Correct.
Okay. Oh,
Actually, we have 1 wall that is about 4 feet and 2 walls, 5 plus minus 5 feet.
okay, so there'd be kind of a second wall where I kind of showed the red here.
Yeah,
Yes,
So roughly 2 at about 5 feet tall. And is the compressor and the generator that are proposed, do they sit behind one of the walls with access, or how do they fit in there?
no, they are sitting right behind the parking. So we propose a non-metallic fence since this is electrical components. And we will screen generator, and to screen transformer, we have to basically get approval from utility company. Since this is transformer, usually is not screened, since transformer have very wide clearance around. So we plan to screen, but we have to confirm with utility company how to screen transformer.
So those will kind of sit behind the hotel, right there at the parking lot, right? So you can kind of see them, right?
they're on the right. Yep,
Yeah,
that's them.
and the utility transformer clearance is shown. It's like a mushroom shape.
Yeah, that's the swing. Yeah,
Balls here. And actually here, but you said there's only 2 balls, right?
Actually, 3 walls.
3 balls. Okay, that's kind of what I think of. Okay.
The first is lower, but the second and third is about 5 feet.
Okay. So we have a couple of little issues here. So as I mentioned earlier, there will be, by locating the building into the slope toward the backside of the building, there will be a fair amount of soil that gets displaced. They can use most of that soil to create the driveway, but significant amount of soil may need to be exported off the site, so we'll coordinate with them to ensure that that is taken care of. They have to maintain the drainage alongside SR 248, so that can't get built in. There can't be any abrupt changes or anything like that regarding topography. We'll certainly coordinate with them to make sure that that is done. We addressed the deceleration, acceleration lane. That is something that they're coordinating with UDOT. That will be done in 2, 3, or 3 to 5 years, depending on what UDOT says. It's a little bit loose, right?
Once you've got to do it away from that surface retention pond.
That's right.
Off to the left.
On the left-hand side, the north side, that's right. Any questions for me or the fire department team?
So Thomas, just to clarify the setback. So the current zoning is mountain and the side setback complying with mountain zoning requirement. But if we change to neighborhood mixed use, then we have to do the setback
I
adjustment.
think we'll have to do that adjustment. I think we'll have to slide everything about 10 feet. It may not be exactly 10 feet because it's a bit of it's on an angle, a triangle, right? But it'll be a little bit to make sure you make it. The challenge is, despite the fact that the mountain zone have 20-foot setbacks, it doesn't allow for a fire station even as a conditional use. So by changing it to neighborhood mixed use, we can get the fire station in there. It's just that, yes, you're right. It's an additional 10-foot in terms of side yard setback. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, it's a relatively not simple fix, but sliding it is okay. If we slide the entire site an additional 10 feet, there may be a little bit more soil removal, but it's doable. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Lincoln, if you have a question, your hand is up. That's fine now.
Yes, so Thomas, I have a quick question. So currently we have completed UDOT right-of-way documents for the limited access break on this project. And my concern is that by shifting the whole thing about 10 feet, we'll need to recreate the UDOT right-of-way documents. Because currently, the way we have this is actually the current access would directly, right in line with the garage doors. And if we're shifting that by about 10 feet, actually we're changing the access location, which will need.
I thought we're only shifting the property line, not the access and building location. Can you clarify that, Thomas?
I think you have to shift the building from that property line, because that property line on what the kind of the northwest there is, that is our property line. We don't have any ability to
I
move.
see. Well, if that's the case, Thomas, and again, we might take this into, a comment review section with you, because to be honest, it might be faster for our team to go through a variance request than it would be to renegotiate with UDOT and restart our application process, because anyway, that might be a conversation point as a follow-up item.
Yeah.
We can have that conversation, sure.
Sure.
Yeah, let's click the variance request right now.
Let's just do it.
Yeah. We are supportive of the variance. We have to take it to the administrative.
Yeah.
Oh.
What was the land on the other side of that line?
What's the-
Property.
What is-
I don't know.
It's not our land.
It's not ours for sure.
I wonder if you could buy 10 feet.
Buy 10 feet of land.
We'll work through this. We'll get there. How's that?
Can't make the building, that corner, cut that corner off of the building, you have to go back to plan.
Yeah.
I mean,
Alright, so where do we go from here?
Yeah, so I think that this is a public hearing, so I would recommend you open it up to the public. We do have some of these issues, conditions that we're certainly willing to work out with the fire department. We'll get there. We'll figure out the best way to get there. We're certainly supportive of this, and so we'll work through those conditions. But it is a public hearing.
Anyone in the public that would like to speak?
Would like to speak, but I'm not a hideout person in that.
Yes.
There's on.
What's your name and address?
No, I just thoughts.
What is your name? I'm sorry.
Oh, John Travis. I just have some thoughts. Number one is, it comes to my mind is Heber and how that main street right there. All the trucks are coming through. Now they're looking at a bypass. if you make 248, which is Main Street. And so I just wonder, this is like, this is just thoughts. I just wonder if you wanna make it a main street. With all stoplights and everything and trucks running in, it's gonna be challenging for a village like that. That's one thought. Which really screws the whole place up, I am thinking about that. But you don't want another Beaver. The other thought I had is the fireplace in the fire station. I know down on, down near, Jeremy Ranch, they're moving the fire station from one side of the highway to the other side, only because it's quicker to get to where the fires may be in that district. You know what I mean? So I just wonder if this fire station is in the right location to get to where it needs to go. If there's a fire, in other words, I don't know this, I don't know the radius, and I'm sure the fire department has probably looked into this.
Well, the response is we don't have much land at all that we own, so we don't really have other places to put it.
And I think that the fire chief could speak to it, but generally speaking, locating in this location, approximately this location, provides a significant amount of coverage for the town. And it certainly helps our ISO, our insurance ratings, keeps them down as well, because right now, the fire station located over near Deer Valley is just a little bit too far, and it causes, I think it causes residential rates to go higher. Certainly, fire chief, are you on?
Yeah, so, yeah, we did look at this quite a bit of where could we locate this, and it was actually with the previous mayor as well. And we looked at what we're trying to do is provide a fire station within 5 road miles of that community, which we actually do provide good coverage. Getting access onto the highway gives us a quicker response. Right now, we are in, we were tucked away, on Recreation Drive, and it does delay our response driving on those 20-mile-an-hour roads. So, yeah, I spent most of my fire career on the other side of the hill, responding out of that station that you're talking about in Jeremy Ranch. So, yes, we took all that into account. So I appreciate the question, but we did look at that. And, with the limited property the town has, it actually provides us the best coverage for the town of Hideout, even with their expansion. So.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone online that has a comment?
I don't see any hands raised. No.
So. We do.
So we can still vote for the preliminary subdivision.
Yeah, our recommendation is that you vote you vote to approve the preliminary subdivision, subject to the conditions outlined in the staff report, and maybe add a condition that if there is an opportunity to coordinate with Corbin and do legal review to see what options we have for that setback, we explore every option to see how we can best facilitate that.
If there is a legal way to do it, direct me to find it, and that way you can approve it without getting a variance.
Okay.
Can someone repeat that?
All right, I'll make a motion. That we approve the proposed preliminary subdivision application in regard to the Hideout Fire Station. Subject to the approval with the conditions outlined in the staff report and the town engineer. And any other conditions that we discussed.
And subject to
The easement,
a legal review to explore.
a legal review to
To
explore.
determine if there is a way to grant
Mhm.
approval without obtaining a variance.
Okay. To determine if there is a way to grant approval without obtaining a variance.
A legal way.
A legal way.
Yes.
We need to be legal here.
I second the motion.
Thank you.
All right, we'll take a vote. JD?
Yes.
Brad?
Yes.
Donna?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
And Kat?
Yes.
And I'm a yes.
Okay.
It's unanimous.
All right.
Okay, so now we move on to work session, Hideout Mountain Village.
Yes. So Hideout Mountain Village is the annexation petition that was submitted to the council. They've been before you once before, with regard to kind of a presentation of concepts for that area. And, over the course of the past, month or so, they've moved expeditiously to provide us with a draft ANDA, Annexation Master Development Agreement, and they've also been able to start to get into some additional thinking in terms of their design concept. So we simply wanted to bring this forward so that you guys can take a look at their design concepts. Maria, were you able to send out that email?
I did, yes.
So there, you may have gotten an email maybe right around 6 o'clock
Mhm.
that included kind of a project narrative, kind
Yeah,
of
she sent
thinking
it.
about this. I had forgotten to include it in the report. I was going to speak to it, but then I actually was reminded by Therese today that it's actually pretty long. So I wanted to make sure that you guys had it, should you want to read it. So you should have that in your email, but we can speak to it. Certainly, Therese and John are here. They can speak to it as well. Just by way of reminding you where this site is, this is at the far north end of town near Gordonell Parkway and SR 248, not on the Black Rock side, but on the other side of the highway. We've got 2 sites up there. There's 2 properties that are being recommended petition for annexation. One is 1141 Glory Lane, 1.02 acres. That one is being proposed for maybe a coffee shop, it could be a Starbucks, it could be a restaurant of sorts, but that would be kind of a standalone facility. Project number 2 is 1.9 acres. It's at 1160 Lori Lane, just across that, the Lori Lane, which leads into the silver buildings, you know, the commercial up there. What's that called up there?
Park East.
Park East, is that what it's
Yes,
called?
Park East.
Okay, I always forget the name. So that one would be potentially a mixed use development, maybe ground floor commercial, residential on the upper level, it could be a hotel, something of that sort, kind of being thought out, and further discussed by the applicants. Here you can see the site. Just to help me orient, this would be, the coffee shop site, for example, this would be the mixed use or hotel site right here. You can see that the planning concepts to date are in these exhibits here. So you can see what is being proposed here. Again, exhibit C could be a drive-through coffee shop. This one could be the mixed use. There. This is the 1.02 acres. This would be a potential drive-through facility. You can kind of see conceptual layout. This is a Starbucks typical site plan. It's not site specific to this, but kind of their general layout that would be configured to meet the property setbacks and dimensions. You start to get a little bit of an understanding of your, you know, kind of a Starbucks with flat roof, kind of masonry exterior. And then another potential, maybe a bit more of a local concept, local coffee shop. Maybe they get more of the pitched roof, kind of that mountain vernacular, mountain modern kind of style. Just different concepts to give you an idea of what could be there. Outdoor area, of course. And then when you get to the property across the street, kind of see what their initial thinking is. you know, kind of this, again, mountain modern, kind of mix of materials, some pitched roofs, mixed uses. This is a little bit more of a, maybe a retail, restaurant, down below, maybe second floor office. Oops. And then maybe something like this that could be, more of a first floor retail restaurant with residential above, and you start to see pretty good articulation of the buildings. This is just a concept example, but you start to get an idea of the flavor that would be proposed. This was, I think this was, yeah, this was for the hotel, a hotel concept, kind of just showing you how it would fit on site, utilizing surface parking. Again, boutique hotel, kind of concept, balconies, pitched roofs. And that's it. And John Travis and Therese Walton are here. If you guys have any questions, they are the applicants. I'm happy to answer any questions, but this is really kind of just a check-in to let you know that they are progressing. They've got some really good ideas that they're pursuing, and they have submitted a draft MDA as well.
Question we can ask now?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
First, I want to thank Thomas. He has been a joy to work with. And I get
helpful.
Yeah, and also I just want to introduce Therese. You've heard her on the speaker for the last couple of meetings, but here she is.
Welcome. Thanks.
Right, so the size of this, the coffee shop, without saying the word, how many square feet would that be?
Want me to talk about?
You
go ahead.
Yeah, it really depends if it's gonna be just a single use building or if it's gonna be multi. So anywhere from 2,500 square feet to about 5,000 square feet. If
So-
it's multi.
So if it was 5,000, be two.
Two, maybe three.
So you're thinking maybe like the coffee shop and some other eating place, is that what?
Potentially, yeah.
That doesn't
Or
conflict
the
with the
laundromat,
coffee.
to get coffee stains out or?
No, yeah. They're gonna limit,
Complimentary.
they'll limit you, they won't allow you to compete so much, so we gotta make sure that the tenants don't rob from each
Yeah,
other.
they're not gonna allow you to build a shop next to it.
So are we really thinking that Starbucks is?
They're very,
They're
they're waiting for us to get this done, so.
I'm looking at the one photo with the outdoor area. And I'm thinking how it's pretty hot in the middle of the day. And it might be nice to have some sort of cover
Mhm.
and put shade behind in that space, because it's.
And we've talked a little bit about the advantages of having some of the outdoor space there, whether it's canopy, some trees or other. Because you can just, you know, you're very close to the walkway that takes you into Richards Flat and the trail system, right? So
Right.
it is a nice place to maybe pop off the trail, come over here, have a sit down and get back on the trail, right?
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, if you haven't had a chance to read that, we're talking about making this sort of the entrance into, I don't know, more bigger villagey. That's why you see those wider buildings is rather than the big square.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Like the metal ones next door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that, the stone look, you know, the little, like you said, the warmer look,
Yeah.
inviting.
Well, I'll definitely say for the other larger space. I like exhibit D1, option B, the best. It's more.
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
Did you say D1?
When you're talking, that's across.
Exhibit D1, option B.
Yeah,
That's, you like
yeah,
that?
that's the one that I.
Oh, I like exhibit D1 option A. I
thought
think
you-
it
I
fits
thought
with the
you had-
Starbucks.
We thought
And
which
I-
one was gonna go?
Yeah.
I like that
You guys go
one.
D1A.
Yeah, so the A is probably more likely than the B. And make it all, make those two parcels speak to each other.
Yeah.
That's
And
right.
maybe
Yeah.
not necessarily white, doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, there's, I don't know, something about. More mountain modern,
It
which
is,
seems
it
kind of
is.
more like. Hideouts. Kind
The option B.
of type of architecture.
I think they're, yeah, I mean. I like the stone of, of this, when you went to market. But I like the stone of the other one too, I mean, I really like them both. But I see what you're saying, one is a little more modern, but.
Rich, last question. Who's going to determine what we put there? They will or we will? I'm just trying to.
yeah, so the,
I don't get
the
it.
object is to create a villagey type feel,
Right.
whether there's. Apartments up above or condos up above and retail down, but we definitely want retail.
Right.
And then retail on the smaller lot.
Also, the other thing is too, I mean, they have to also complement the homes that are there right across the street there.
The ones that aren't part of Hideout, like I don't know how else to describe them, like
Hot Springs.
Wasatch Spring, yeah.
yes.
That's right, Ken.
or the ones that right there, the retreat. Next to it, right, that's what I'm talking about. On the same side, not across the street from 248, but across Richardson's Flats or Lori Lane, no, Richardson's Flats, what is that? No,
Jordanelle
Jordanelle
Park.
Jordanelle Parkway,
Yeah.
yeah, all that in there. Yeah.
That's right.
Well, that whole area too.
I
mean,
feel like the white's gonna make the commercial stand out.
You like that?
I do. I think that it's so easy to get, nobody thinks that there's commercial, especially when it's low.
Yeah.
And so I do think it catches your eye in a way that the housing and then storage facility and all of that doesn't. But I can also see the argument for it blending in.
And there may be, again, we're just thinking because there may be more than one building. And not just a big long building, I mean, larger, but a couple villagey, gathering place.
We just want it to be cohesive.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think in my mind what the area looks like.
Well, I'm thinking of the commercial they put in that's near there. That's not, I don't think they've really rented. That's really right around the corner.
It's actually just down in SR 248, a little
Yeah.
bit part of Wasatch Springs retreated,
Yeah.
kind of baked into
And I
that
wouldn't want
development.
it to look too much like that, because I don't think it has a lot of appeal, and I think that's why it hasn't rented partially.
It's just a little early. I
It's early.
think that you gotta go through a residential location to get to it. It doesn't have any visibility. It's really hard. I think once we do that corner, that'll probably start to fill in more.
Oh, yeah, that corner's great. It's a great location.
I like the style of the other better than the white.
Well,
That's
that's-
just me, but whatever, it's just my personal opinion. I think it just has one more flair.
When I look at the side summary, exhibit D3 option A. You've got an entrance off Jordanelle Parkway. Do you prefer that or do you prefer it to be off of Lori Lane? And I'll tell you what, I have this dream that someday I will be able to walk down from my house in Soaring Hot, get on a bus on 248. 248, and then it's gonna take me and through the dip, come here, it's gonna turn left and I'll go to Richardson Flat where the town center will be. And also get me onto another bus to go on Skewen. But it seems to me like it'd be natural for that bus to turn left off 248 and have a bus stop right there, close that. Where kind of like you're entering into that. I didn't want to compete with what you guys are.
Yeah, it does access off of Jordanelle and Lori Lane.
There's two.
Yeah. And I would say, so I'm kind of just following what you're saying, maybe there could be a bus stop here or a pullout or something,
Yeah.
maybe that makes sense. I bet this particular location may be hard to get a curb cut because it's so close to,
We've got a good cut.
you do?
Oh, yeah.
On this location on Jordanelle Parkway?
Yeah,
Oh, you do?
yeah,
Oh, okay,
yeah.
okay.
So, you know, I've had this approved before through the county. I was gonna do a project before COVID. And I had it all because it was one big building and the cost of construction was one out of this world. So
Speak up a little bit.
the cost of construction went way out of it. So then I was gonna put the market, you know, Mike Holmes at the market in there, and the cost of construction went up, and I went back to Mike and I said, Mike, we need to change our lease. And he said, no, I can't afford to. And so I couldn't afford to build it without making payments every month to support him.
Yeah.
And I figured I support him enough by buying milk. So now we're looking at a different, so coming here, we get a little bit bigger building. Because with the county, it was 28,000 square feet maximum. And now we're thinking more 40,000 square feet. Which may require some underground parking. So we just have to look into how that works. Because the numbers don't work at 28. Because the cost, everything's gone up so much.
No, but I like that, that's great, and I like you have two, and I like the entrance on Lori Lane and the Jordanelle, you can have the cut. And you could do up to a 4-story. And I see that 62,000,
That's too big.
that's too big,
We aren't.
okay.
The last time you were here, you mentioned a hotel and then you seemed kind of hesitant again, then where are you now?
We aren't building a hotel to be a hotel. We aren't. If a hotel comes along and says, we gotta be there, it's a boutique hotel. And it's cute and it's nice. And they wanna lease it. Then maybe, but. I don't see us building a hotel.
Do we have any choice in that? Specifying?
I mean, certainly as part of an annexation, you have the discretion to say, to recommend what you think the zoning should be, commercial or neighborhood mixed use, et cetera. And if you had particular uses that you thought were allowed in that zoning designation that you didn't want to see here, you could certainly disallow them. You have discretion when you are looking at annexation. Certainly you want to work with the applicants, of course, but you do have that discretion.
Well, then I'll express my personal opinion. I think there's a hotel across the street, we don't really need another hotel. And I
That's
think
not a bad
actually,
idea.
the retail and restaurants will draw from the hotel there, so people will, decide they wanna go eat somewhere different and walk across the street, so I think it could actually.
That's what I like, yeah.
Which brings us to the traffic going, I'm just kidding.
Well, you like that.
We do. That's another thing I need to talk, just off the record, is I was involved with them putting that light there, because when I first bought the property, I called UDOT and we started to communicate. And then there was a couple accidents there,
Yeah.
but remember, there was no light there, and people were going. And then the same thing up at Tuhey, I'm doing a project up at Tuhey. And they're putting a light in.
Right.
Cause it's rough coming out of there. And you're right, it's rough coming down that hill.
Yeah.
So, yes, that's a tricky road. It's getting better.
So what type of business do you think works best for you financially then? I mean, you talked about something like retail or commercial underneath and residential above.
Can you speak up?
Is that kind of what you're looking at as far as half residential, half on the top side and commercial on the bottom?
I would say that's probably the best situation. because I've tried to do office before. The other building that I had designed and approved through the county had 12,000 square feet of office. I was afraid of that. I was afraid that we were, especially with COVID starting, when everybody's moving out of offices, I was afraid of that. And now I'm thinking it makes more sense to have some residential up above and have a community type feel with a market down below, not a grocery store, but like a 6,000 to 8,000 square foot market. I'll call it a 3-day market. And then food, restaurant. We've talked to the hardware store over in Camas about opening another store there. He's open to that idea. Just whatever the market, whatever the area needs is really what we're gonna attract.
If you have residential above the commercial, will you commit to putting an elevator in so it's accessible?
Yeah, we'd have to.
Okay.
You're the expert, if I remember right. Am I correct?
Just an affordable,
Okay, yeah. I remember you.
just an affordable.
I'll make a comment about the market you just said, because they're putting a market in Wild Horse. They're building, you know, a grocery store in Silver Meadows, and then they're putting a big gas station down the road that'll have. I'm not sure that that's basically.
Let me explain to you. I was in the grocery anchored shopping center business for along with Phillips Edison. And I was the director of leasing for Western United States. And in order to put a grocery store in, you have to have a third-party market research done. And those grocery stores know where you and I buy our milk and buy our eggs and buy things. They know how much money we're. So all this research is done with this software that's technical. And they can tell you, you should have a grocery store there, or you should not. I've had 2 of those done with Mike Holmes. One before COVID and one after COVID. Both times our site shows up as that's where something should go, a grocery. When I hear about somebody putting a grocery store at Wild Horse, when you're going 65 miles an hour down the road and there's no light, the chances of that happening are slim to none. And I hear this, every developer you hear says, I'm putting a grocery store there. I don't think they have an idea of what it takes for somebody to invest and put a grocery store somewhere. So I'm just saying.
I agree, and actually I voted against it for that reason, but they still are supposedly putting it in. And
It's a
Well-
consideration. What they are proposing to do is maybe a restaurant kind of neighborhood, kind of bar kind of thing. They could have almost like a salt box kind of products you come in and buy. So it wouldn't be a grocery store per se, but products.
Yeah,
you could
like
buy.
Skyridge has got some sort of a eater, like even Tuhay's got a little place where you can buy a few things.
The question is, how many different places do we need though?
Yeah.
Well, I think this is a prime location because it's at a light.
It's at a light. There's
It's
3
at
things
the
they
light.
want. They want traffic, well,
Coming
roof,
from,
rooftops, a light, and they want visibility. Those are the things.
Yeah, you have all of those.
Yeah.
Even in a coffee shop, because that sits higher up.
right, and
Yeah.
people coming from Richardson's Flats, you know, after skiing, before skiing, oh, I want a coffee for the ride, for my bus ride in, you know, I mean. I think that's, you know, I think it's a great area for commercial.
Can I ask what's gonna happen to the taco truck?
Yeah. Save the taco.
Save the taco truck.
Well, she's on a month, so
Did you build a restaurant?
I don't know, hey.
Maybe in your parking lot
trust-
of your,
Where it's a gift for her to be there. It's a grandmother and her kids work there, and It's working.
And
out.
we love it. I ate it this week.
We're thinking about maybe a couple, while we're planning and doing all the things we need to do right now. I'm working heavily on Tuhei and then on the smaller lot. Starbucks is moving, they want to move fast. But we're thinking maybe add a truck or two of different product, you know, not Mexican, but this summer. Temporary, you know. What do you think of that?
Less
We love-
barbecue.
So wait, does that mean the taco truck's going away?
No.
No, in addition.
Oh,
to-
okay. In addition to, oh, I love that
Choice is
idea.
good.
You like that?
Choice is
More is better.
Okay.
And it brings more people to.
Yeah.
Why don't you go to the outlets? They have several trucks there. and see
Yes, I noticed.
What's selling there?
Great idea.
Yeah.
The fish and chip truck
With
at Smith's is
shapes
also
and
super
stuff.
popular.
Yeah.
Great idea. I'm sorry, I don't mean to dominate.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
Are there
Too
any
late.
other commercial product ideas that you have of what you would put in?
I just went through a couple of them.
You had mentioned, Pacific Restaurant last time, I think.
Oh, yeah,
Are they still interested?
it was the 5 seats or the.
Yeah, 5 seats. Yeah, you want the details? Okay. They're good and they're, the thing is my partner in that 2-acre parcel wanted out. And, so I found somebody that bought him out, so I have a new partner. And I don't know if that, I haven't talked to him about, because they're not in a big hurry to sell and he wanted to own. So I kind of let that just sit. Okay, sorry. I know 5 seats would be fantastic.
Or something like that, artists, you know? Well, anyway, I like what you've done.
I agree.
Well, this girl here has done a lot of the work.
You like what you both have.
Oh. Yeah, it's a team effort for sure. I do want to make a comment and just make sure it's in the narrative and it's in the documents, but just to point out so that it's clear that it's part of the annexation. We had talked about and I'll lean on Thomas a little bit on this. We're also asking for a CUP for a drive-through.
And so right now, in the NMU, the neighborhood mixture, or the commercial, even, we don't allow for drive-throughs, right? And so as part of this annexation master development agreement, their request is that we incorporate language that allows for a drive-through. You have the discretion to do that. You can do that. It would otherwise be a CUP that they would have to come to you afterwards for. There's no sense of doing that. If we know that that's what's being anticipated as a drive-through coffee shop, we would integrate that into the MDA. Staff has been supportive of that. And I think that the planning commission has been aware of that's the concept, and we would incorporate that in.
We can make that just for the coffee shop.
That's correct.
Sounds
Just
fine to
there.
me.
In Silton Meadows, there's no drive-throughs. Correct.
In the annexation, Silver Meadows annexation, there are no drive-throughs in that area. That's right. Yeah, this is in an area where drive-through traffic makes complete sense. The Silver Meadows area, the street area doesn't make a whole lot of sense there.
Then you need less parking.
This would allow for quick in, quick out, obviously. Yeah.
Sounds fine to me.
Next step.
So I think-
Question. Can we specify that it's not, that the Starbucks could be a chain, but not any of the other stuff that goes into the.
a national chain, not like a 5-seat second location.
I wanna just make one thing clear. On the Starbucks, we don't really see ourselves doing a suburban Starbucks building like what you see there with the flat roofs.
Yeah.
That, that's their design, not ours. We see more of a homey, villagey.
And they're open to that.
On the nationals, that may limit us, I don't know. You know what I mean?
And it may
You
be
don't want a
something,
McDonald's or a Burger King or any.
No, I'm not talking about that, but I mean, if, let's say we put in a True Value. You know,
Oh, yeah. I get what you're saying.
you know,
and we could work with them on that. It could even be, you know, a percent non-formula versus formula. Or that we don't want drive-through fast food or something to that effect.
Yeah.
Certainly, we can work with them, make sure that it is agreeable to both parties, ideally. Yeah. So yeah, we'll be working, we'll continue to coordinate with them. I think if you have any recommendations that you would like to convey to me as we work through this, our next step is typically to get it in front of council. And so get the master development agreement in front of council. Typically, council will, at that time, as they're processing it, will typically send it back to you to make sure that you guys are comfortable as they progress with the MDA, as they progress with the annexation, as they progress with maybe additional detail regarding what kinds of businesses would be there as they work through that. Typically, council will ask for your input in at a subsequent meeting. They don't have to. An annexation would just be heard before council. Typically, they do that. We'll coordinate with council so that you do have that opportunity.
But the NDA would happen at the same time the annexation would happen.
Yes. Yeah, so in effect, the MDA would become the de facto zoning. It'll be commercial or neighborhood mixed use. I think that you're asking for commercial, so it'd be commercial zoning. That meets hideouts, commercial zoning in accordance with hideout zoning designation. If there were any deductions or additions, such as the conditional use permit to allow drive-through, that would be baked into the MDA. The MDA would. So yeah, at time of annexation, that happens.
Any other questions?
all those in favor?
And everybody's pretty supportive, it looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, we're excited. I think it'd be really nice. And the idea is to make it really homey and villagey. Let me say that.
That's nice.
Village.
He asked what the timeline, how long would it take to build?
It's a good question.
I think that the 1141 will go fairly soon.
I think so too.
The Starbucks.
Yeah. Starbucks.
Yeah.
I've been with the rep for Starbucks. They had all their people come out. Look at it, so it's all approved. We've just got to go through the process with them. It's not an easy process, but they say that we like that. So it's good. And then whatever goes with it, we just thought a two. We've got to be careful because we got to keep enough parking and enough stacking for drive-through.
Yeah.
We can't have it be too big. Or we can't have something too busy that's gonna hinder that. They're the boss.
Yeah, they have stacking requirements and parking requirements and so. Yeah. Depends on how it's laid out.
Thanks, guys.
Okay,
thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Sitting for our long.
Sorry, I had to sit through the.
Oh, actually, it's
hours.
helpful, actually.
Thank you so much.
Learn something, you know? That's right. It's kind of good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'd like to flip the order of what we do here, because I think before we do the general plan, it would actually be good to get your overview of the annexation for some of
Oh,
those
sure.
first. And can you go and review about those? Oops.
Okay, so. There we go. So you all had asked for a quick update, or I should say, Madam Chair had asked for an update with regard to the Silver Meadows annexation, because some of you were not on the
All
planning
of us except
commission.
for Donna.
Is it all of you except for Donna?
Yeah.
What was that again? Oh, yeah, I was the
You were
only
the
one
only
here.
one. Okay,
I was
I thought
the
there were
only
two
one.
of you that were on, okay.
That's
So-
just me.
So, she recommended that we bring this forward just so that you all know what was approved as part of the annexation, what it is made up of in terms of land uses, just kind of general high level stuff. So, this was the AMDA, the Annexation Master Development Agreement, that was executed on October 16th of 2020. So that is when this was formally adopted by the council. You can see here that the project area is about 350 acres. There are 240 single-family lots, 95 cottage lots, smaller lots. The idea at the time was to try to get different kinds of housing typology to kind of broaden the demographic market, if you will, so that we had a variety of households in the community. You see there are about 40 units of twin homes, 100 units of apartments, and in the town center, there would be kind of in the kind of the commercial area, there was 125 units of condominiums, more kind of urban condominiums, if you will. About 100,000 square feet of retail commercial, and there was a site designated for an assisted living center. At the time, there was a lot of discussion about the fact that the entire Wasatch Back is devoid of assisted living, et cetera. So the idea was to create a space for that, should the developer want to build it. 72,800 square feet were reserved, and about a little over 200 acres of the area was preserved as open space. Let me go to the map and then I'll circle back to some of those other details. So it's pretty good. So you can see here that, keep in mind, north is down. It's turned. So the north is facing south, or yeah, facing south in this particular diagram. Are you kind of?
Yeah, there.
Yeah. So you can kind of see let me just clear that up. You kind of see the rail trail. You can see Richardson Flat Road here. It's worth noting that the properties we were just looking at are right up here, right?
Where?
Can you see those? The properties that are being considered for annexation, again, we should flip
Oh,
this,
right,
but
down there.
they are right down there. The Black Rock Hotel is over there, right?
Right, yeah.
We should flip this, but this is where these, so just kind of gives you orientation. So relative to what they're proposing down here, pretty vehicle centric. What you would see here is kind of a village center, a town center, more pedestrian oriented. So you can start to see the variety of lots up here. We've kind of got some cottage lots. You can start to see the larger estate lots down here. You can see some twin home lots in here. It's also worth noting that all of this area is open space with trails integrated into the landscape. And then this is what's called Richardson Peak. There would be a gondola that takes you down here to the plaza. So that if you wanted to take the gondola up, you could, or take the, take gondola up, you could hike the trails down, you could bike the trails down. The idea was to kind of integrate the recreation into the town center. So this is kind of the layout. Again, it's worth noting that the council was pretty adamant that we cluster some of the development and then preserve the peak in terms of the kind of the ridge line in terms of preserving it from development and protecting the ridge and views. So that's kind of the site plan. I can come back to that. I just wanted to hit on a few things.
So is the builder planning to build the gondola, like,
Right.
that,
Yeah, that was a part of it. That was a part of the agreement, so the master developer was responsible for that. Yeah, they wanted that recreation facility integrated into the development. Yeah.
Pays for that. Do we?
say, they're paying for it?
That's part of the master developers agreement, yeah.
I don't remember 100 apartment buildings, which
It's 100 apartment units,
apartment
and
units.
most of those,
Where are they?
if you look here, whoops, sorry. You can see here that the town center apartments have 100 units. They would kind of be in kind of the commercial area. They'd be a little bit more urban. I use urban loosely, of course, right?
Okay.
And 50 of those would be market rate and 50 of those would be affordable units. in
Okay, so
particular
it's
area.
part of the town center.
It's part of the town.
All right,
plan.
I just was thinking it was an apartment.
Yeah, not up on the hillside or anything
Okay.
like that, no. It was integrated into the town center. The idea was to accommodate some degree of affordability, some market units, but also to keep the town center active, right?
Because I guess it's just the terminology, because I see here condominiums over structured parking with retail, live work at street level. So is that what we're talking about, I'm looking at
Oh,
map.
are you down?
I'm at the map. Town center. Yeah, lower left, it says town center, and the brown. To the right, that's a condominium hotel, but then the light brown says condominiums over, so is that the apartments they're talking about?
That is a part of the apartments. that we're
Okay,
talking about.
all right.
Yes, if I remember correctly, yes, that is correct.
Okay,
Yeah, you're talking this right here, I think.
right, I
Yeah.
guess because on the left it says condominiums, and under development data, it says
It
apartments.
kind of says apartments, but I think that was
Oh.
intended to be,
But then it says town center condominiums under that.
well, where do you see?
Well, read under development area, that white box on the right.
Yeah,
And it says development area, project area, single family lots, like how many of each? And then it says towns apartments, 100 units, town center condominiums, 125. Let me show
I
you.
think that is a part, I think that what they intended, if my memory serves me correctly, is some of these in here are a combination of apartments that could be kind of horizontal development.
Okay,
And then over here, you may have some condos and or apartments. It could be mixed. At the time, they didn't get into an exact breakout, but you could see them that
Okay.
those that sit over the commercial development. So it's a little bit of a mix. These could be a little bit more suburban. These would be a little bit more urban sitting atop,
okay.
I think is what they're.
Well, I think of apartments as for rent versus condos being owned.
Yeah, I think that's why they differentiated them. There were about 125 that were condos and 100 that were apartments. They kept them roughly.
But they're all down there by the town center.
They're all down here by the
Okay,
town center. Pretty much everything you see up here is going to be a cottage unit at the smallest or, a bigger single family. unit. There are some twins. I think these are the twins right in here,
Where?
but for the most
Oh,
part,
yeah.
all of these are more like what you'd see throughout the town. Right out down here, it gets a little bit more
Okay,
static.
yes.
So now they are building a town hall and a community.
That was included in here. Yeah.
And do you know the sizes of the buildings?
That may be in the MDA. I didn't pull that out specifically, but I can get that.
Thomas, can you go back up for a second?
Yep.
So, oh, nope, down, right there. So it looks like there's 120 units of affordable or semi-affordable. Are those going to be, kind of piggybacking off the question that already existed, are those going to be deed restricted, and are they rentals or purchase ownership?
I think the intent was that for the cottages, like right here, where we hovered in the 100 to 120% of AMI. I think that the cottages were anticipated to be a for sale unit. I think that probably the twins at 80% of AMI ideally would be a for sale unit. But the 50 units of apartments at 50 to 80% AMI would be a rental product, and they would all be deed restricted accordingly.
Okay, all of the sale and the rentals.
That's correct, yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
That was my question. Thank you.
No,
And the assisted living, is that not a done deal?
I don't think the assisted living is a done deal, so that's funny that you asked that, because when I was preparing this, I went back and I looked at the MDA, and the assisted living facility is an option that is provided to the master developer to build on that location identified in the concept site plan, right? And so I don't think it was a requirement, because there was a question at the time, is there definitely a market for it? And so
There is.
I think there is too. I'm with
By the
one.
time this is
Need a place to live.
Yeah, that's right.
My parents can't live with me.
We think there's a huge market for it, but at the time, I think council kind of,
I'll be the
I don't know
first
that
resident.
they gave on it, but maybe a little bit they did. And so it was provided and up to the developer, but it was also specifically noted that that piece of property couldn't be used for anything else. So you're almost forced to build an assisted living facility or come back to council and renegotiate.
Okay, the bottom right hand corner, the gray area. Is that annexed by Park City?
I think that has been, hang on. I have to think about this.
Try that one.
I could turn the whole thing upside down. I think that was annexed. I think, in fact, Park City annexed right up to our line, I think. Yeah,
Looks like they overlap.
our annexation declaration areas overlapped for sure, right? And I think that property owner opted to go into Park City rather than Hideout. And so they're in Park City, and of course, we have Silver Meadows that chose to annex into Hideout.
Okay, the green weird box. That's plus or minus 2 acres, that says not a park. Was that just to be left?
Yes.
And it's like having Park City happen to hide out.
I think there was some questions with regard to ownership and where that went. That's on the other side of Richardson Flat. And
That little parallel road.
yeah.
Wait a minute, it says the existing.
I don't think that is a part of their development. I think that they're showing that as green, but I don't think it's a part of this
The other
development.
one's a rail trail.
So also, it says something about a police and fire station, so.
Those were also,
They're just.
those were also part of the agreement that
Yeah,
that space would be allocated for them. Yeah.
Yeah,
But it would be the county.
They would have to build it. And of course, the fire department may not want to do anything, because now they're looking at something like 248, right?
Yeah.
But that space, it was, at the time, council was very concerned about making sure that we did have space for institutional facilities, because short of the few acres of land we have nothing.
right.
Yeah.
Okay, how to describe this? And where the rail trail comes through. It's
Yeah.
always nice to go look from the air. And you got this area that says 21 single family lots above the town center may be relocated into the remaining plan area subject to town planning review and ridgeline analysis. Okay. I mean, I look at South Bay, going off that road, I could go ahead and build on those lots, but going up to where you've got the church parcel, you gotta have a bridge over that deep cut. Where the rail trail is, you just cannot cut a road and say, oh yeah, I'm going down to the rail trail and then back up. That is,
Are you talking about right here? No. Oh, sorry. This area here?
no, to your left, keep going on the rail
Okay, let
trail
me clear.
towards. What's it, where did you go, see where that church?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
look at the road that goes right through the rail trail.
yeah, right here.
And you're going, there's no way without that road being a bridge over that rail trail. It is cut so deep down in there.
I don't think they showed it as a bridge, but I think there's an understanding that this didn't take into account all of the details of the.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, looking at it for sure, 30,000 feet.
All right.
So, yeah.
I'd like to cut us off here, because I think we talked about actually exploring more next time.
Could I have one,
Go ahead.
how far from the toxic piles is this?
Yeah.
That's all Park Cities.
No, I know, no, but you read,
They're right here.
yeah,
Actually, it says it right here, QU1 site,
that's,
isn't that it?
Yeah, that's it. It's not very far, yeah,
does that,
because they're not far from Richardson Flat, the parking lot, right?
yeah, I just. There's does. In windy, dry conditions, will that impact these houses?
That is something that the developer is going to have to take into consideration and work through, and I think that they'll probably have to work with the environmental entity over there, whether they
Yeah.
have to put a do they have to put some sort of a topsoil or covering in
Yeah.
addition to what they've done over that? It may be an issue, yeah.
Yeah, because.
Well, I know they did an EPA,
They did.
they already did their due diligence for this.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
because those are
Yeah.
big toxic piles and there's some pretty ugly stuff in there. Just thought I'd mention.
Yeah,
Oh,
they're
They're
in,
super fun site.
yeah, they're
Yeah.
super on site and they're in a program to get that resolved.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think next month we'll discuss and maybe explore looking at the MDA, so we get more details, but I thought we should look at this in terms of looking at the general plan and already getting more of a feel for what was gonna be here before we talk about general plans.
Like the grocery store.
So let's move on
Everybody.
to the next thing here. Here's the maps I printed out. You wanted to take a look at, you can share. But then I also printed, I sort of tried to compile. I asked everyone to submit some questions. Some of them were more comments and questions. We actually really need to make these more of a multiple choice type of thing.
That was.
But I'm
that's our
gonna pass out
recommendation.
at least what I started with.
Interest of time, we can take your questions and probably make them multiple choice, so don't worry that you have to do that. I think
Okay.
we could do that because
Take one
if
of
we
each.
go over 5 to 10 minutes, people won't stick around
Right.
for the end of the survey.
I know.
That's what Let me give you these.
Need a copy of that before you go. Either one, okay, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, you're fine, I just has to go on the website.
Do you want one?
I do need one, yes. Anything's ever handed out.
Anyway, we need to reword all these and kind of figure out really what we're trying to. Okay, but, sorry, I know Kat, you'll just have to listen and.
So Kat, what they've done is they've compiled some of the questions and created
Yep.
some multiple choice answers, some yes, no. Actually, you guys, this is great. This is what we need. I can work with city design and John to kind of craft these into 10 questions that cover everything. And we can get through pretty quickly, or that a participant can get through pretty quickly.
Okay, well, let's just talk about them anyway. So. I had the first couple, I've noticed on the map that there's, 4 different bus stops. We don't really have any parking. We really don't have any land for it. So, to me, I question even having the bus stops. I know you would like to be able to walk and you can from your house, but the question is how many of us could really walk to
People
248?
people won't do that. They
Yeah,
will not
that's
walk.
kinda
there.
what
No
I-
way they're gonna walk to over there. No way.
That's what I kind of think, but I think it's worth asking the question
Yeah.
of whether people would walk.
There's, you know, there's a, that's, I
So,
don't know if,
And-
or if the land that the state owns on 248 could be utilized for parking. You know, because it's kind of like over that area by the entrance to Ross Creek, you know, where it flattens out or whatever. There's, you know, we can put parking lots there if they're willing to go ahead and have access to 248 from that side. But yeah, you're right.
Could we also negotiate with the state park perhaps to allow like a lower discounted parking rate for people who are riding the bus? Because they have that upper parking lot that
Yeah.
puts you fairly close to the top.
doesn't hold too many cars, though. But it's.
They expanded a little
It's
bit.
Something we could talk
Yeah,
about.
I think it's worth
It's an
thinking,
option.
how
Yeah.
much could fit in there? I think the question could be answered. It's worth pursuing.
I mean, people
because-
talked about using the lot, like, right when you first come in, so. When you turn off onto Shoreline there, and that land to me seems like valuable land, I would not want to put a parking lot. Right.
I don't think so.
And I also would like to see that eventually become a nice looking entrance like the other entrance and have it landscaped and. Look better, cause it's pretty, right, crappy looking.
It looks rough right now, that's correct.
Right. So I don't know, is this the right question, the right way to word a question?
I think it should be a very stark question to ask and
Well-
get people to be, hopefully honest as they can be on this stuff. Will they
Would
use
you
it?
use?
There's no need
Right.
to like build something if it's not gonna be
Right.
used.
I mean, it's a nice idea to have, I mean, it's great to do that, but is it feasible? Are people really gonna use it? Or
Well,
do you have?
the only
Well-
thing, so you will have, if we build any kind of restaurant or retail there, it would give the ability for people to come from Park City by bus. there.
Mhm.
So that is the one thing that could think about, and then also like from, like Claim, I mean, they can walk. So there are some places where people can walk. But it's
Sort of
also a
like,
matter.
that whole side of the highway I consider like verboten, that getting across the street is impossible.
Right.
And it's so dangerous without a bridge or something. I just couldn't imagine anyone like, hey, kids, come on, we're gonna take a shot across the street here. It just seems a little bit much. I don't know.
Okay,
Maybe the question is, would you drive, like, would you use a bus stop? Yes. Full stop. Yes, but only if there's parking. No. Because we have multiple choice, so we can capture a lot of information at once.
so the question I had was 4 bus stops have been designated to be located on 248. Without much parking nearby, would you use the bus and how often? And I put daily, weekly, only for special events and never.
Maybe.
But we could have two questions, one about use and one about, parking. Or why they would use it to go out to ski, because maybe the use will inform the placement.
Skiing would be impossible. Darn your here.
Yeah.
Well, Mountain Movers now is all the way over in Sky Ridge area.
People use the bus quite frequently, I think. Yeah, for that.
You know, what is the utilization on regular time of the Richardson flat lot into Park City? The bus, how full are those buses?
Oh, they are, and I'll say I use them. Maybe
Yeah.
we should ask, are you keeping track of questions here? Okay.
We've got
so
some here.
Maybe we should ask how many residents use the Richardson flat buses.
That would be a good piece of information.
Yeah.
I'll get it from you.
I mean, I just used it today to go to Deer Valley, but there were 4 of us and we were the only ones on the bus. But
Yeah.
of course,
Yeah,
we're going
well.
to ski because of the,
Cause when I go down there, start ride and stuff, it
Right.
looks pretty lightly used.
It's used pretty well for ski season, and it's used well for, like 4th of July parade.
Yeah.
Sundance.
True.
Right.
Also,
Sundance as well, yes.
also, this is only the second year it's been in service.
It was used really well last year. This year's a whole different thing because of, I mean, parking lots haven't been that full because the snow's been. So it's.
Who owns that parking lot?
I think it's Park City.
I think it's Park City Municipal.
Okay,
They built it originally for Sundance. And it's only used for Sundance. for
I think it
years.
actually goes back up to the Olympics, to be honest. Yeah.
The Olympics, yeah.
Okay,
All right.
so next question here is if we were to move the Public Works building to 248. What would you want to use that land for? And I have restaurant, community center, retail. Open space, like not built on it at all, or other,
That's a good question.
any other? Okay.
do you need to tell people like how big the land is? Or will they know? I'm just thinking like their answer might change if they think about it in the context of where it is and how big it is.
I can note that it's about probably 4 to 5 usable acres over there so that they have a sense of scale to know that it's not Costco would be.
Right, but it's also not half an acre, a coffee shop.
And for people who
Nothing
are
else.
on the concerts there, don't really.
Right.
I don't think I put this on here. I was sort of messaging with Pat a little bit about how. So Shoreline Phase 4 is building this big community center.
Yeah.
Which is dedicated to Shoreline 4 and it's part of their MDA. And from what I think I understand, and let me know if I'm correct on this.
Yeah.
After it's built, if Shoreline decided that they didn't want it to just be for Shoreline, could they actually give it to the town?
Shoreline, the HOA would be the owner. They could, by way of a vote of the HOA, could choose to do what they wanted with it. So if they wanted to sell it or if they wanted to dedicate it to the town, they could. Now, the town would have to, of course, choose to either buy it or choose to allow it to be dedicated to the town, right? The council would have that responsibility.
So one of my questions, I know I've heard a lot of people in Shoreline don't really wanna have the clubhouse, they feel like it's gonna be a financial burden. And I'm wondering if we should explore the possibility of this becoming a town clubhouse and then maybe we use the space that we've been thinking about for other purposes, so I think it's something worthy of exploring. I don't know,
And-
not ask a question in that regard necessarily, and I'm not sure if we need to.
I think maybe phrasing it was like, are you in favor of a clause in this? And then maybe have a follow-up question, along those lines, could be design, something like that. Get a little more nuanced response about, do they want it? You might be surprised, we might be surprised, no, yes. And then, what do you do with it?
But it is part of their NDA for Shoreline, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
entire
Yeah.
Shoreline,
Yes.
Shoreline 1 through 4.
It's the full.
I was gonna say, is it the master
Right,
developer
right.
who would have to approve dedicating it to the town? Like the
Yeah, we
master
asked the
HOA or
developer,
the,
developer said that he can't do it. Are you talking about the community preservation station?
no, so I'm talking about Shoreline has 2 levels of HOA. They have a phase level HOA, then they have a master shoreline HOA, then they have CPA on top
Well,
of
we
it.
don't yet. Right
Okay.
now, we have our individual phase HOA, and then we're part of the CPA.
Yeah.
And eventually,
When
the
there's a carve out.
clubhouse will give us a new HA.
Yeah, there's a carve out just for the
Right.
rec center.
Right,
whatever the fucking dog park.
And so there's gonna be costs involved in that there's some
that
people aren't
included?
happy about.
There's gonna be four HOAs you're gonna be paying stuff into eventually, yeah.
So consolidating that would
Yeah.
be something I.
No, I think this
people
is a
would
good
like.
question. I took some
Yeah.
notes down. I think I could tweak that, run this by you guys, but yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
that's a good
So
question.
in
Well-
talking to Pat about that, then she said, and we have, how much would you pay for the use of a recreation center? I have as number 3.
I
And
think you could include that, keep that.
yeah, I
part.
think it
Yeah,
should
for
be,
sure.
so,
Yeah.
whether,
That's not
because a lot of
They
people
give you a good
want
idea.
to health clubs and
Sure
stuff.
they do,
sure.
yeah.
So this is my other thing, okay, so we were talking about the Silver Meadows, and I was thinking about. We're carved out of Wasatch County, this little section. We don't have a Wasatch County rec center. So here you have a really inexpensive rec center, South Summit in Camas, or down in Heber, or Park City, it's really inexpensive. I mean, the entire year anyway, has been, with me included, was $450. The South Summit Rec Center in Camas, but we pay non-resident rates because we're Wasatch. And I'm like, well, why don't we have a rec center? Why doesn't, maybe Wasatch County can add a rec center in our annexation area? What do you think? I don't know.
Well, isn't that kind of what the
Is that in
community
there?
center and town hall would be?
Oh,
The Wasatch County, and Silver Meadows is in Summit County.
Yeah.
oh, so this is still in Summit County,
Right,
so
it
they
is.
wouldn't do it.
So it would end up being Summit County that we'd have to reach out to, and I'm not sure they would put another one there.
Right, that's true.
That's our challenge. So for Wasatch County, it would have to be. You could make the argument that Wasatch County could. If Shoreline didn't want that rec center down there, the community center down there, could Wasatch County step in and do something with that? But then you may have a lot of traffic coming in that you would not want in that area. But maybe Ross Creek could be an area, right? That's in Wasatch County.
So the question is, how many community centers do we need? So that's,
Yeah.
a big
Probably
question.
not nearly as many as people think,
That's
I
correct.
guess.
I think
Yeah,
so.
but I do think it would be nice to have some gym option within our
Yeah.
primary community. Like
That
right
is
now, we
expensive.
don't have any option for any sort of gym.
Right.
So if any developers are listening for commercial, how about a gym?
Well, I will
Um,
tell you that Shoreline 4 is including, I don't know how big a gym, but it also has a yoga room.
Yeah.
So it does have.
Yeah,
significant.
And a
I'm pretty
pool.
proud of it. I
Right.
mean, he spoke pretty
He is,
clearly
yeah.
what
Yeah.
he thinks it's
Yeah.
gonna be. And it's just, by the sound of it, sounds like it's gonna be a pretty good thing, so.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's. Something good.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That question makes sense. to me. I'll.
Or-
fix it a little bit.
Or where the Public Works building is.
yeah,
Yeah, Ross Creek is in
community
Wasatch
center
County.
gym.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so then the next
I
question.
think that question been answered though, Ross Creek, everyone's for it, doing something with it, right? I mean, it is Ross
Well-
Creek essentially, yeah. But then,
They are, but at the time that it was discussed, it was kind of before we knew for sure if we had annexation. So again, how many community centers do we need?
oh,
That's,
so I part ways with Ralph on this, I don't care about a community, this is just me speaking, I don't care about one. Because I think you could use like the rec center or something like that to serve as those kind of things, I don't know, but. I know people have stronger feelings about that than I do, but I agree with you, it's like, hey, can we afford it, can we? Really?
I think you need one with every significant area of development. So like it makes sense up by Richardson Flats, the Silver Meadows. It makes sense to have one in our community.
Okay, keep in mind that we're paying for it, where like the one in Richardson Flat, they're building.
We're not
the
We're
MGM.
not necessarily paying for it if we could acquire shorelines and then charge for use to cover the costs.
Right, if it's the shoreline one, but if we build it ourselves in Ross Creek, we're paying for it completely.
Oh,
That's correct.
I was thinking have Wasatch County
Potentially do
pay for
Ross Creek,
Ross Creek.
yeah.
We are kind of like.
Okay, good luck.
Yeah, we are kind of, we're the real stepchild of Los Angeles County apparently, so.
Yeah.
So they're not gonna wanna do
But I
that.
mean, so.
We are giving them a fire station, just remember.
That's true.
Yeah. Alright, anyway,
That's
so
right,
you
Pat.
got how to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
no, I've got it. Yeah, yeah.
I kind of wonder, you know, how many rec centers do we need? How many restaurants do we need? How many hotels do we need? How many grocery stores do we need? It's like, how do we figure all that out? That's a big part of.
Well, that's good. I think that's an interesting question because really like, you know, there's been various proposals. Who's gonna actually pull the trigger and make a grocery store happen? Does it happen in, you know, the town center?
Well, Richardson thought it, it's in
You
the,
know, well,
it's
well,
in the
you know,
NDA, so.
There is a grocery
Yeah, but
store.
that could be 10 years, right?
No,
Right.
they're starting on supposedly this year.
Would.
that would be great, you know.
Yeah, but it could be a little bit out, but there is a grocery store up there. You know, I think, keep in mind, I think it's interesting when the community says, we want a grocery store. We want a community center. We want a coffee shop, right? A hotel. Keep in mind that you don't have any of those things yet, right?
Sure.
So when everybody's asking for it, I think they're just hungry for those amenities, right? And so I don't think you're gonna get 5 grocery stores here because the market won't allow it, right?
Absolutely not.
But if you allow for commercial nodes to develop, one will be your hamburger joint and beer joint. That's where everybody's gonna go for that. One will be a hotel, one will be a grocer, one will be whatever it is, right? So allowing them to happen doesn't guarantee that they will happen because you zone for something does in no way guarantee that you get it,
Totally
right?
true.
So
And
keep that in
and we
mind.
need to get out of our way, that the town needs to get out of its own way. And allowing these things to happen, so I think these kind of areas of. Little promises and things that can start and kind of see the, you know, what needs to happen here, that's what really needs to happen. It hasn't yet, because it's been very challenging to get anything done,
But
but.
they need to be built in the right places, and like Wild Horse, you know, is on a 65 mile an hour road, and like they're gonna build a little grocery, and it's gonna be hard to get to, and. you know.
But he took he took the risk, right?
Right, but that's what I'm
And I,
saying,
but
you
I
have
agree
all
with you, I
these
agree with
things.
you, Rachel, it's like, you don't wanna have like a bunch of hollowed out. Stores and restaurants that don't work, that would not be good either.
Right.
I don't want our initial commercial like debut to be a failure. I think it's important that
Yeah.
you become known as a place of success and that people want to come. So I think we do need to think carefully about how many so we don't over flood the market, but I also think we need to think about where.
Yeah.
Because the people who are going to be paying for them are going to want them close to where they are.
Yeah, I think Wild Horse will do well as a bar restaurant, as a unique kind of gathering space, right? I think it'll develop its own
With the view.
cachet kind of.
Carry out.
I think that Ross Creek probably has a lot of opportunity for kind of local gathering space, coffee, kind of burger, kind of joint kind of vibe, right? Because it's got fantastic views, right? I mean, they're pretty extraordinary, right? But I think you're right. Beyond that, I don't know, outside of the town center, the Silver Meadows, I don't know that you're going to get a lot of commercial, and I don't know that that you would necessarily want too much scattered too thinly around the community. But I think those two areas, I think they have a vision. I think the developer has a vision for Wild Horse, and I think Ross Creek can be something, right? But that's the city's decision, right? And there's been a lot of positive input on Ross Creek, right, today. I think that's supportive. You know, if the settlement does become something, I don't know whether it becomes a condo or a hotel, and they have a juice bar in there. I think that'll be fine, right? I think the condos will support it, right? But again, market will really dictate if it actually gets built.
Honestly, in my opinion, the town rises or falls with what happens at Rich's Flat. That's the commercial area, that's what everyone is bought into. We have a great great company working there that would make sense and should be successful.
Yeah.
But, you know. There's gonna be a bunch of like retail, Ace Hardware, is it gonna be some McDonald's, I don't really know. But something needs to get, you know, I think we're all supportive of like something getting started there. What it turns into, it's hard to say, but I think Richardson Flat is really where all this stuff kind of matters. If we're gonna develop a tax base, that's what's gonna start, yeah.
And I honestly think we shouldn't really nail down any other decisions about like Ross Creek until we kind of see how this broadly fleshing out.
But I think they're very different areas. The town center of Richardson Flat is very different from a neighborhood node like Ross Creek at the end of the day, right? Ross Creek would be a place where you go because you want the views of the lake and you want to be in a place where you could go there, you could walk there or bike there for most of, you know, the town of Hideout on this side of 248, right? You could bike there, have a couple drinks and not worry about, you know, you don't have to get into a car, you could bike or walk home, right? I think a neighborhood node, a Cheers bar, you know, for lack of a better word, fine there, right? But that'll be a different experience than what you will see in the town center at Silver Meadows, I think. It'll be bigger. It's a grocery store. There's a police station. It's got a different kind of feel, right? I think you have the capacity for both. Again, all you're doing is, at this point, planning and zoning for it. After that, if we don't get what we want, we have to incentivize it, right? And if you don't then get it, this is the market said that wasn't interested.
So let's move on to the next question I have about the water taxi and the chairlift. But I guess the chairlift is already a done deal, so. we're not-
At the Silver Meadows?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, so let's take that out. This is say about the water taxi.
But-
See, the water taxi to me just seems foolish.
I agree.
I agree.
I mean, I'm all for pie in the sky, but the time that I would need the water taxi would be to go to Deer Valley when the lake is frozen. Okay, and also the fact that you'd have to go ahead and build more docks on this side when Ross Creek was always said to be a calmer, non-motorized section of the lake. Why would you go ahead and invite that motorization into play at that point? I just can't imagine being the guy who owns the boat and says, yeah, I get charged $5 to haul somebody across the lake to take them to a restaurant out of Hideout. Instead of saying, you know, go to Silver Meadows and go to a restaurant there. Don't assist for taking our tax dollars out of Hideout.
It's only 10 minutes from Hideout to Mayflower.
Mayflower,
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
10 minutes.
No.
That's
Yeah.
okay.
So it doesn't.
I think the water taxi, it was kind of visionary, aspirational, right? I agree with you. I don't think that it probably has.
I look at it,
I'm thinking myself as the owner of this thing, what is my economic incentive to pay off this? Not great, probably.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking that.
And I just sit there and thinking, if we sit there and say, we want this water taxi, how serious are they gonna take about our other ideas? We'll sit there and say, we want a community center here, or we want, you know, we want the town center here. They're gonna say, yeah, and you want a water taxi too. You know, no, it doesn't fly. To me, it's like so far off our radar as far as what's common sense for the town. That we should just eliminate the whole idea.
So should we ask about it or can we just?
I would say that, let
You
me
could strike it.
cross this one out and let me talk to city design and
Yeah.
those guys, just, you know. Ask them, I forget what the percentages were, I don't even know who were supportive of it or not, right?
Yeah.
But I think, again, it was very aspirational, because I think we all know the reality of getting something like that,
When they
given the
do
state
build a
parks
reservoir.
limitations.
Yeah, well, that's the
When
other
they
thing.
all build a reservoir.
That's a good point, really good point.
Pretty soon, just walking across. the
It's gonna be a land bridge.
Yeah, just.
We're gonna get her. Might have, you know, a bunch of Russians over here who got them from across over Alaska.
Alright, so number 5, are proposed pedestrian and bike crossings adequate for ensuring safe and accessible transportation options?
Where are you thinking when you ask that question, Rachel?
I think it was on your list of questions.
No, it's kind of like, I think it's a good question, because people obviously bike and stuff like. I think the answer is like obvious to me right now. Currently, you can't cross the street, on 248.
Nope.
And I'm not really up for
Yeah.
like funding, my tax dollars for a bridge or anything like that. That's just me. I don't know where that thing goes, so.
Well, I look at it, okay, I cross
Those bus
Woodward
stops.
every
No,
day,
bus stops.
every
But
day,
where the-
I do, and I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to the light
Crossing.
here.
Yeah,
Because it'll stop the traffic for a while, and give me a straight test. So I have to
Absolutely.
Okay? But
Yeah,
yeah,
your neighbors,
It's on another slide.
don't any of your neighbors want to do?
Because this is
Yeah,
the
there's-
wild.
no,
I'm, if we're building
Yeah.
commercial on the other
And,
side,
but what I look at
Okay.
is, okay, we've got the wildlife crossings that we've talked about. And I look at the one on, the little area, on, US 40, coming out of Brown Valley. Where they put there's underground crossing right there, and the trail stops right there, by the way, where they need to go and connect to that. That's another story. But, they had a camera on that, and they caught all the wildlife using that, same as the humans. And if you sat there and said, okay, if you went ahead and did crossings like that in those two areas, one kind of by Soaring Hawk and one around the corner by closer to Golden Eagle area, and said, okay, we built those two for not only humans to get across, but for wildlife. They jointly use it, and they're not that massive big. You go ahead and plop them in the area right where the cut was there. So you can cut out that section of the highway and drop those pre-formed cast concrete in blocks into there. But either way, I think it should be a dual usage, and so I think you could probably get more state dollars that way.
So.
I've got number 10 is also, question number 10 is referring to the same thing.
So I thought, and I like that idea, I mean, because I think I even was thinking about, or when we were talking to Nate about it, but there was some wildlife research that when they smell humans going through there, the wildlife is not gonna go.
Really?
Yeah.
No.
The other.
That's
You
why
guys-
it's hated.
No, you look at the secret crossing, I'll say over by
Yeah.
Home Depot, underneath the highway. And I can't tell you how many times I've gone through that in the winter, and you see all those deer tracks going right in and coming out the other side. And that is like two people can barely walk side by side.
That's a type, when that was built, I remember when we were working in some county to do that, and there was a question, should we do it in such a way as to have it shared, right? And the
Yeah.
idea was it was simply a monetary reason, and so they said, yeah, let's combine it, right? What they have said is that some animals will use it because they're more accustomed to being in people's yards and they're fine smelling people. Those animals that are not accustomed to smelling people will never use that wildlife tunnel, right? Just because they're not accustomed to it. But a lot of deer in Park City are pretty accustomed to people, right? At this
What do you
point,
mean,
right?
right around here?
Yeah.
Well, here too, everywhere, right? And so I think that in a perfect world, we would have had 2 tunnels there, but that's too expensive. Nobody's gonna pay for it. And so maybe it's a wider tunnel, and I think could be something to think about,
Yeah,
if you're gonna share. it.
Yeah, I hate to be a wet blanket here, but let's just. I am not happy about paying for any of this stuff. I'll be perfectly honest. As a taxpayer, I think it's like indulgent. Again, just me, not my bag of tea. But
yeah, but JD, we're building commercial that we're gonna want our town to frequent on the other side of the highway. And
No
while some
way,
people will drive, I think a lot of people would like to bike or walk in the summer. So by not having a safe crossing over 248, we're hurting that retail opportunity.
So does that have to be privately funded, or does
It doesn't have to be privately funded. Certainly UDOT has dollars, and when it comes to, what is it called, Utah Outdoor Recreation, they have some grants and things, and so you can layer some of the UDOT money. UDOT had dedicated, what was it this year, 95 million to trails and tunnels and those kinds of projects, and they dedicated money to big projects. I think this year they had 13 10 projects, I think. Some were 7 million, some were 4 million. So they dedicated money to big projects to make things happen. And so I don't think we would build it. We don't have that money to build things like that, right? But I think it would be, it'd be a public-private partnership or a public-public partnership, I guess.
Isn't they built the bridge over I-80 while they
Yeah.
coming
Yeah.
for the wildlife corridor? And I think they don't want people on that.
They won't allow people.
They
on that.
won't allow people on that.
No problem.
Oh, you see, you look at the videos, that's how many bears walk.
Yeah.
You're going, yeah, I'm not going.
So I guess we want a question of whether people.
Yeah,
can use it.
I'll put a question in. Yeah, I can do that.
So moving on.
But having even like the traffic light at Tuahey and Golden Eagle is another opportunity to cross safely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah.
Agreed.
So number 6, I have, do you support annexing additional lands for Hideout?
Why would anybody be against it?
I will tell you why, because I sat there and I look at the annexation map and I'm saying, okay,
Except
when you go look
Later
at the eastern side of our annexation map and you cross Wasatch County lines again into Summit County. And I'm gonna say, are you ready for it? Are we ready for another fight? Do we have to have that same fight where we're stealing land again from Summit County? You know, this is what's been, we were labeled as for.
Yeah, that weird label, but that wasn't what happened in court.
I know that, so,
It was so
but did they change the law that we can't do that now, or can we still? And if so, why are we stopping at that little section? On the top of Garth Rogers Ranch there, and why are we not extending farther down into the West Hills of Kansas, where the West Hills City wants to be created? And wouldn't we want to go ahead and say, well, maybe, that's prime real estate. And if West Hills City never materializes and those landowners want to go ahead and be a city, maybe we ought to put that extended border.
So do
Over
you capture this area right here?
I think that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm talking about, exactly, yes, I'm talking about that area right there.
So yeah, we can expand the ADA, the annexation declaration, or you have. the authority to do that.
We're gonna say,
Yeah.
we're willing to cross county line again. Why don't we go ahead and talk to the West Hills city people, I think his name's Anderson, that was leading the charge. And saying, hey, maybe if your answer is to go ahead and be annexed into Hideout.
So what is the benefit of it?
Good question.
So to me, the benefit of annexing land, the reason we did Richardson Flat was for financial reasons, for tax base.
Yep.
The only other reason I think we would want to annex land is to have more open space and parks. The bigger we get, bigger isn't always better.
Well,
I mean, we, as a town, we're already kind of having some struggles just managing with the staff we have.
I'm 100%. Competency is not our long suit. It's not been proven that at all.
So why do we want to be
But I
bigger?
think part of the problem that we have is we are under the original NDA that says XYZ amount. Tough luck, you have to have the developer go ahead and do it, okay? But at least if we annex other properties that are open, we could sit there and write the rules again and say, fine, we'll bring you into the city, but you know what? 70% of what you have has to remain open space. But right now, our hands are tied on most of the developments to go ahead and say, we want open space.
So we also,
And yet, everybody wants open space.
but we also have to manage the town, and we have to have more employees. We have to have more,
Okay, but
public works.
the annexation doesn't have to happen overnight. It could be over 10, 20 years.
In our course, we were mandated to do for Maui Town. One of the points they make is that just because you expand the land surface, you're not you have to pay for the maintenance of it, and you still don't generate the tax base so that it becomes expensive.
I wouldn't approve anything to do a hardcore financial analysis of this. Are you kidding me? Like, and what are the benefits? What does it look like? What's the tax revenue? And then the open space is a good question, like, that's 7% of unproductive land, in an economic sense, not necessarily in an aesthetic sense, but it's just kind of,
We have a comment from the back of the.
Or
room.
about-
I mean, I wanted to say, from the policy standpoint, annexation, you realize that bringing in residential is a net negative. It's always going to cost you more. And so if you're just expanding to expand, you're losing money. And so if you tie that to possibly gaining something, open space, but in your situation primarily commercial, where you can get a tax base.
yes.
And so if you're looking at your annexation area and you're going, really, our overall capacity to do anything from a commercial standpoint is going to be already in our downtown area. We're not going to end up with other areas of commercial. You're just costing yourself money.
Good, a good point.
And so you need to be thinking about that policy driven. The one nice thing about annexation is you are never in a more powerful position from a discretion standpoint than when you were annexing. They're coming to you and saying, I want in because you have services that I don't have. And most times they're coming to you because they're going to get higher density than they're being offered in the county. Okay, so you're in a very powerful position. But if you don't understand the policy issues behind it, you're like, oh, this is great. We're getting like, no, if it's straight homes, this isn't great.
If you're, I agree, if you're just annexing land for the sake of annexing, you're losing. If you're only annexing residential development, then you're actually losing dollars because you actually have to take care of the infrastructure, the horizontal infrastructure to service that. I think that the town, to its credit, has been smart in its recent annexation. Certainly Silver Meadows is a commercial endeavor that creates significant sales tax opportunities for the community, right? Even the one we looked at tonight, the Hideout Mountain Village. That's all commercial development. It's a minimal amount of land. We're not servicing any infrastructure there. Jordanelle Parkway is there, and we're taking advantage of an opportunity to create a little bit of a commercial development there as well, right? That's a good annexation, right? As you look at Benlock, if Benlock were to come back, they have a commercial component. They also have a potential where they, again, to Corbin's point, it is discretionary. When you are looking at annexation, right? You could start to look at real estate transfer fees if it were more residential development than you wanted to see. So every transaction, you guys get money, but you'd also want to make sure there's a commercial component to it as well, right? Because otherwise, there's no sense in doing it. It's just land for land.
Why, pray tell, do we have then all in annexation map, do we have all that property to the east of hideouts? In the hills where it will never be commercial.
East of Hideout.
You're talking about
I'm talking
like
this
Shadow
area right
Ridge.
here. Towards Camas.
Oh, east, oh.
But there's no maintenance there.
There's still maintenance, but if you're gonna annex it, you're not annexing it.
Where? Where are you talking?
I'm talking east of Golden, here's Golden Eagle right here. Okay, here's Toohey, there's the county line right here. Okay, it actually goes right here, and we've got all this area right here that would be nothing ever in any of our lifetimes other than maybe residential.
Can we annex it to keep it as it is?
So you could annex it, well, you're working with the property owner, of course, you could annex it to keep it what it is, or to cluster development or to control development so that you were kind of the, maybe there would be a reason to want to control it from a traffic perspective and accessibility perspective. But you're right, that area up there is probably only ever going to be residential. It's also worth noting that just because you have your ADA, your declaration area, your annexation declaration area spread across that eastern part of, or east of the community, you don't have to annex, you're not required to. Something, right? So it's just, it gives you a bit of an option, it gives you a bit of a control opportunity should you want to annex it. And maybe keep it out of somebody else's hands in case they were gonna do something crazy and put up a mining facility up there and even really want mining above Golden Eagle, right? You probably think about maybe annexing Brook Falls, right?
Okay, if West Hill City becomes a city, could they annex it, crossing our annexation boundaries?
Absolutely. They could overlap their ADA with your ADA, and if the property owner up there chooses them rather than they make a better deal, West Hills than Hideout, they go to West Hills.
Yeah.
So on our questionnaire, do we wanna ask?
Well-
Maybe about annexation?
I think whatever the feedback is, it's useful, I think.
But the
People
thing is,
understand it.
that,
Yeah, I
right,
don't.
I see, so now that you explain, I'm sorry, you explained it,
You go.
no, sorry.
Finish it, finish it.
No, I was just gonna say, now that I understand, because I was like, why wouldn't we wanna annex? But now that I understand the ramifications, I'm like, ooh, I have to think about that.
Depends on the situation.
Right.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting if you did ask this question, I'm sorry, but it'd be interesting if you did ask this question, if they said why, yes. Or commercial, does the community understand that or not? That would be interesting to
I
know.
think.
You might need to explain a little.
We'd
bit.
have to
You
detail
won't
this.
leave that question out because the vast majority of people will not understand. Will not even come close to understanding it. I think I would leave it out, because it won't mean anything.
If I could create.
The thing lot development, what commercial aspect is it?
This is about it.
Yeah, no.
They have a little bit up there, but it is de minimis
At best.
on the current concept plan, yeah. But they do have a little bit up there.
And so, I mean, and that's, I mean, really, when you look at it just from a purely dollars and cents standpoint. If you're annexing residential, just to annex residential, you're making, that's a very poor financial
That is
decision
right.
for the city.
That is right.
You
The
just,
Zenlot keeps approaching us, or does it approach us in passing? We want to become town hard hideout, and I'm going, yeah, you gotta either drive clear around the dam.
Yeah.
Dam, or
The dam,
clear
yeah.
into Francis and come back.
Yeah.
And
think
if
you
you're the
say
public
no.
works guy who has to sit there and say, oh yeah, I've gotta go plow those roads over there, I'll
Yeah.
see you tomorrow.
yeah. I mean, and so, unless, again, like, so in that kind of scenario. If it were me, I'd be looking at, what am I getting out of this? Cause I'm gonna have to provide the services.
Yes.
And it sounds like, I mean, I would be looking at like a regional park. Something that would bring value to every citizen that, you know, something like that, but they're far away, and so it doesn't seem like a regional park would be.
Water tax even.
I know now the water.
This is awesome. Yeah, but those would be the kinds of things that it's like, what does the community need? And it's like, well, yeah, we'll annex you in, but you're gonna put in a 10-acre park for us or something like that.
Yeah.
Again, in annexation, you have power to do whatever you want, full discretion, right? And you negotiate with density. You give them density, that's money in their pocket, which means they put money in yours.
Okay, Black Rock Hotel has asked about annexation. Have they formally asked?
They have none.
Okay.
Are they contiguous?
They are.
They are.
That's a conversation that should be kept warm. That's possibilities for the town that
Yeah.
Money.
really does not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm all about that, man.
You're already getting the negative impacts. It's right there in your back. It's like, why wouldn't you get the
Get
positive
the
tax?
benefit,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It's like, doesn't make any sense
Yeah,
not.
that particular area up there where Hideout Mountain Village is,
Yeah.
that area up there offers some significant opportunities, partly because. One, it's already developed and we
Correct.
already suffered the externalities. for it,
Yeah.
One,
Exactly.
two, it's right at the edge, it's right at the end of Jordanelle. Or Richardson Flat and Jordanelle Parkway, right, which is kind of our new Main Street as
Right.
Silver Meadow starts to build
Which would
out,
help
right?
you cross from
That would
Glory
be
Lane
kind
south.
of the suburban commercial, and then we'd have our kind of more neighborhood urban town center
And then
commercial.
we don't.
That's a
need
nice offset.
And then we don't need a community gathering space, we have the hockey,
Gather on the hockey field.
the hockey fields.
Yeah.
It holds like 6,000 people.
It's quite nice.
So rare.
You guys gotta go check that.
Right.
too.
Yeah, and it's real.
Okay, so. the next
I'll
thing
play
we
a
got
little
here-
bit that annexation question to see if I could write something that might be informative to help people. Okay.
What additional features or improvements would you like to see to the trail system?
we'll make this a multiple choice, I think, because open-ended people, they just don't bother doing it.
Yeah, okay, you can figure out. how
You know, something, I mean, you may wanna break it down, so nature trail, dirt path trail, paved trails.
That's a good point.
Because they're talking about the
That's a
spine
good trail,
trail,
that's true.
UDOT's got that on their radar for some year. But, it's interesting in that some people don't want to go off pavement at all.
Yeah, it's kind of true.
Won't go off pavement, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So
quite happy with
I can see,
asphalt
I can
trails.
see like in Silver Meadows, the rail trail being paved, I'm gonna assume, right? It gets paved. And remove the old car out of there, the old demolition derby car. Okay.
Remember that our population is aging and that stability on the trails is an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we want people to remain in hideout and kind of age in place for a while, we do need to provide paved options.
We did agree.
All right, so the next one we have, I have some multiple choice, but I don't know if you want to add some other stuff to that, but what types of amenities would you like to see in the planned parks? These are a couple things that we don't already have. We already have 11 pickleball courts that are already approved. I think that's beyond,
I think that's.
yeah,
And no,
yep.
and no curling opportunity.
Where? Besides.
No
We've
curling
got Orange
opportunities.
Brook, we've got two
Yeah,
local
but like the one in Deer Waters is private.
springs and
Wait for that lake to freeze.
Yeah.
They can play there.
3 in Deer Waters and 2 more in Deer Springs.
Yes, Corbin.
The two in
Anyway,
Deer
so-
Waters are private, so
Sorry,
they're
just a quick
just for
comment on-
Deer Waters.
Sorry. They've been doing a lot of work with Midway and Heber on their parks. And everything that I've seen is that the communities are saying, look, this is the living room of your community. And this is where you gather. And so you think about what brings people together and things right now that work very well in those parks. Having a concert series and having a pavilion where people can go. You don't have to have a huge one, but something where people can gather. Something that's big enough to do a farmer's market, where people can gather. Right now, you don't have people who are willing to put the infrastructure in to put up restaurants. But you could put in areas where you can park 5 or 6 trucks, right? And so now suddenly people can come down for a concert on Friday night. They do have food options and then it grows around that. I don't know what your park plan is, but as you're thinking about the amenities, it's like, it's not just like pickleball, right? It's
So
like.
Shoreline 4 is putting in a big amphitheater.
Oh, okay, so there's
And a
things
big-
there that will happen,
yeah.
yeah, and do they
So-
have trails that'll come down to it?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yes.
That's
Is
awesome.
that amphitheater public?
yes.
Yeah, just. the
Thomas,
community-
is that correct?
The community center is gonna even have bathrooms that are accessible from the outside.
Yeah,
so
that's
that
true,
people-
Yeah, I think
So
that
is
is
that
right.
gonna be
I
like,
think Glenn's committed to that.
Yeah.
so does that become your, like, the town, I mean, think of that, that's your town center, that's your living room, that's where people
Well,
are gonna
that's
gather.
why, how many do we need? And, I don't know.
Yeah, and in some way, yes, I think that's right. And I think that Ross Creek was always envisioned as kind of like, it's interesting, the nomenclature, because Silver Meadows is our town center. It's a commercial center, right? That's our envision. That's what we envision. But as far as like a gathering place, I think people have thought of Ross Creek, right? But we put, some, a restaurant, a bar, a cafe, something like that. There's been discussion of, should we start with just putting three food trucks there and kind of setting it up and putting some lights up and paddleboard rentals or something like that to kind of prototype it to see, could something like that work? But I think town center is kind of like commercial town center. Ross Creek is like gathering center. I think we have to make sure that we convey to the community the difference between those two, because one is really about making dollars, sales tax, right? The other is about, we want to make money, of course, but it's a place to gather, right? Look over the lake. It's where we hold our
We could
concerts,
make it
right?
into a big park.
Yeah.
And that's, I think some people might rather have it be more like an open space park as opposed to too commercialized. But I don't know, if
Yeah.
that's a question to ask. her.
I mean, I liked what we did, so you may not know this, but we would have concerts with the Nathan's building the same. And we had food trucks, so, but we only did it like maybe once a summer, maybe
Yeah.
once,
Every
twice.
year they're still doing it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, twice a summer, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess I wasn't around, but it just wasn't, you're at the maintenance building, it's just was kind of not very aesthetic.
Yeah.
Can I say that correct? So, I mean, if that wasn't there.
Yeah.
Then we could make it aesthetic, and I like that down there, because it's a little more hidden. You're not on the highway, it's kind of like.
And for that very reason is why we're thinking.
Right.
That could be that kind of gathering space, right?
Right.
Maybe up top you have a little bit of commercial, maybe it's a split the baby, dare I say, right? But that public works has to get relocated, right?
Right,
That's
right.
why
Yes.
the potential site over near the fire station is so important, even though it's not the easiest site to locate a building,
Right.
because the slope is pretty steep, we're gonna have to dig out all the way a lot of soil. But it opens up significant opportunities
Right.
right there overlooking the lake. Take the public works away, it's a nicer site.
You
Yeah.
can call it the old 40 or something,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
old
that's right.
40 park.
So back to number 9 about the amenities in Trent Parks. Are there other things we should put in there, like other multiple choice?
How about, what should you want to put in the like pavilion?
You got
Concert
me
area?
covered picnic
Yeah, I
areas, but yeah.
covered picnic areas, because one thing that, I mean, I am a walker, I love to walk around the neighborhood, but it gets really hot in the summer. And there's no place to stop
Yeah.
and talk to somebody and be in the shade, because we don't have trees. And anyway, covered picnic areas around town would be really nice to have.
No, this makes sense. I'll look and see if there's anything that we might be missing. If I think of anything, I'll add it, and these will come back to you guys. That's-
I just throw one other win. I would think about places to park, like if I'm thinking about this community and with the advent of electric bicycles and people able now to ride. It's like everybody jumps on their bike, cruises down for a concert, cool, you gotta have someplace to park them. You gotta have a place where, and then parking becomes a major problem as well, if you're thinking about it.
That's
right?
true up there, because people don't like people, parking on that Bellevue. I
Yeah,
remember there was an issue with that.
that's right.
Every park I've asked for extra parks.
Yeah, we're getting,
Yeah. Yep. All right, we already talked about the wildlife stuff.
Yeah.
I guess, number 12, what changes to 248 besides stop page will improve safety? I don't know how to make that into.
I think that's, I think to, yeah, that may be a question, it's like too involved to get even like. Really good feedback on it, because I think what we discussed tonight is like, there may be a bigger question here about. Really, is it inappropriately labeled as a state?
Can't you refer it to Bangor Highway?
Yeah, that was strange.
Please,
Yeah.
you can't tell you people being killed on Bangor.
Does anybody else have any other questions related to the maps or any other ideas?
If you guys think questions or ideas or just issues that you want us to kind of create a certain question, just shoot my way. I'll work with John and Jim.
Ask them if you wanna keep, about the assisted living, I really like that, of course, I'm with Kat and just about everybody here, I think, that we need one. Would that be a question that we should ask them if we need one?
Whether you would,
Whether
you would live in the assisted living?
Would you live in the assisted living if it was,
If we build it?
if we?
Well, and I think, but part of it's also,
Yeah.
or will you bring your parents to be closer to you so you can actually be a full-time resident?
There you go, Kat. That's a good idea. I just want to make sure I'm sure it's gonna be used because we
Yeah.
need it so bad.
I think there are a lot of people who leave here because they have to go take care of parents. I was fortunate enough that my parents and I both live in Hideout. So I can help them, but I know a lot of people who, if they could bring their family closer, would stay or be full-time.
and have a short stay, or even like a short stay.
Yeah, former question around like what Kat's saying, I think setting the table for something like that is good, it's a good way to engage people in an interesting question, like that.
Well, I'm going, if Hideout is like every other place in Summit and Wasatch County, I think it's going to be about 92% yes.
Yeah.
Everybody is looking for this, looking,
Yeah.
and step down housing, right? People
Yeah,
get-
transitional living,
That's right, they're,
Assisted,
well,
well, assisted,
but I mean, even people who
independent,
have-
assisted, skilled nursing.
But even people who have, 15,000 square foot houses in Park City or around, right, as their kids get older, they want a place to step down into, but there's really nowhere to go, right? It's
That's a
all-
really great point.
We don't have.
I mean, I know people that moved from big houses here to Hideout because they were
Right, too.
new and smaller
They were
and.
smaller, that's right, and it's worth living.
There are quite a number of people in this area whose parents are in assisted living facilities in Salt Lake.
Oh, sure.
Quite a few.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think there would be plenty
Yeah.
of demand.
I think the demand is high.
Yeah.
Did you want this one?
Are we, is the town in any kind of position to negotiate with like a assisted living kind of entity at this point?
If you have land, yeah. And so the land that's been carved out in Silver Meadows, for example. Right now, it's kind of left to the developer to build that, right? And if they don't build it, I guess they would have to come back and renegotiate the MDA for what could be built on that property, right? If this MDA comes back, if there are changes recommended and or made, which we anticipate will likely be the case, right? As they continue to pursue it, that's an opportunity to say, maybe we want a piece of land carved out where the town can go negotiate directly with an entity.
Yeah, I kind of feel like, that taking action is, wins the day. And
Public
so doing something, like the town were to form a plan and actually think about this a little bit. We'd probably be better for it, I guess.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And public-private partnerships are really the way you're starting to see a lot of that get built in. And land is a big component of the equation, certainly building it as a component, right? Soft costs are a minor component, but land is the major, sure. Yeah, sure.
So could this be a reasonable use of annexation space because it's both density and commercial? And I think people would be okay driving around the reservoir to go see their family.
Yeah, I think that is a good way to think about it, yeah.
Okay, are we done?
This was a long discussion.
This one-
Sorry that we went late. I will say there's one thing that somehow we didn't get on the agenda, is, Corbin. We still have not finalized our, the planning commission rules.
Oh, so I talked to Polly, so those.
Yes, so sorry.
Polly's working on those. I think, aren't they in front of the city council?
So they were
come
pushed,
Here first?
so the council pushed it, and so I think what's going to happen, my understanding was that Polly was going to, I think it was gonna go in front of council and then come back here.
Yeah.
I just thought that was.
The only issue was that they changed us to having 7 members. And so that changed some of the language.
I think there were just a couple more things, not much, but I think that was.
Haven't looked at, to be honest, because Polly's still doing those, but I know that they are on the agenda coming up for the city council. at
Yes.
least.
In April.
So we're, but.
Yeah, I thought they were waiting for us to finish them, so that's why.
And I truly, we will clarify for you. I will definitely clarify for you. Yeah, yeah.
This was Polly yesterday, and I think that maybe council is now done with kind of their review of them.
Oh.
And they'll be coming back to you guys at the next meeting. If council
Okay.
has to touch them, they'll touch them maybe right before you guys do. But I think Polly said they're ready to come to you guys. She just had some minor cleanup.
All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
Make a motion, make a motion.
Very enthusiastically.
Motion.
I second that motion.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a good night, guys.
Good night, Maria.
Wait just a minute. Let me just turn off the, that's okay. You're just fine. We just turn off the recording. Maybe. Hang on, if I can really turn off the recording.
No, I've got to address that.
My heck.
Yeah.
What?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that.
You're talking about,
Great,
um,
that would we, okay, so.
Steve, before you leave, we
Yes.
were talking
Oh,
about
yeah.
me sharing phone numbers.
Yeah.
Line sharing.
Oh, yeah. What's yours, Stephen? 435. 300.